Hey guys, and welcome to another Sasquatch Theory episode. In this video, I interview Sandra from Missouri, who has had a lot of different encounters throughout her life, and I was thrilled to meet her and listen to what she had to say. Sandra talks about a strange canine that she encountered one night while driving on a back road by West Plains, Missouri. She also had some Bigfoot and paranormal encounters north of Springfield, Missouri. Guys, I'm thinking about buying an e-bike, specifically the Quiet Cat Apex Pro. I think it would be a good investment for the channel and for gathering evidence. I think an e-bike will allow me to quietly get deep into these forested areas where people usually do not venture. It's just been really hard to carry all my gear to all these different areas, and I can only go so far with what I have, but I think with this e-bike I'll be able to sneak into these areas and venture deep into the unknown. Any help on the PayPal would be greatly appreciated, and you can find that in the description down below. In addition to the e-bike, I want to save up for a Wildlife Acoustic Song Meter SMR acoustic audio recorder and a Spartan Live trail camera. I think we could really create some cool content with that gear and gather some really cool evidence, so like I said, any help would greatly be appreciated. But yeah, Sandra has a lot of information to share, so let's not waste any more time and let's dive straight into this next encounter from the state of Missouri. Sandra, welcome to Sasquatch Theory. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Sandra, you had some experiences here in the state of Missouri. If you would, tell us a little bit about yourself and your experiences from the very beginning, please.
I had prior experiences when I lived in Tennessee, but when I was younger, but it got more so when I moved to Missouri. And when I was about 15, is when it first really started. But I was attacked one night. It was late, getting close to midnight, going down a dirt road outside of West Plains, Missouri. I don't know if you know where that's at.
Yeah,
but
I do.
It was in where K Highway is. It's about 5 miles down K Highway, and there's a dirt road that goes to the left. But anyway, there's a dirt road that goes to the left, and I used to live on the other side of the dirt road to the right, up on a hill. And late one night, I was coming down through there, and it's the first most terrifying experience I ever had. Now, I'd been followed in the woods, out motorcycle riding and stuff down in Tennessee, with the whole neighborhood kids, and always being followed and stuff, by something tall and black. And different family members being run out of the woods and stuff, but nothing never traumatic. But we were going down a dirt road, somebody I knew, and we were just going real slow, Ivan. And thank God my window was like 3/4 of the way up. It wasn't all the way down, just a little bit. And anyways, we started around a corner, and this wolf thing came out from nowhere and tried to get through my window. And it was holding on. I don't know how it was holding on, but its head was in the window, and it was like trying to rip my jugular vein out or something, man. And I'm only, mind you, 15 years old at the time. And it's holding on to the window somehow, and I can hear its claws and stuff, and it's slobbering all over me and stuff, and its head's in the window, and it keeps trying to get a hold of me. And I screamed bloody murder, and I jumped over in my friend's lap, and when I did, they ran off the road into the ditch, and when they hit the ditch, I guess that jolt knocked it off there. And it knocked it off. But I was screaming so bad, and they were so petrified because they didn't know what was going on at first. All they heard was this horrible sounds and stuff, and me screaming bloody murder. And it's dark, but there's enough light in the car I can see what's right here at my face, trying to keep me alive. And but the jolt knocked it off the car somehow, and but it held on. It seemed like, um, you know. It, uh, when you're going through something like that, just a moment seems like forever. But it just seemed like it just kept holding on, holding on. I could hear its claws on the windows and stuff. And but anyway, he knocked it off whenever he hit that big jolt, and we just hauled, but we just kind of right on up out of the ditch, you know. Uh, Somehow, thank God, it wasn't a deep ditch. You know, we just kind of veered off the road and back on. And I only lived, maybe a mile and a half from there or 2 miles from there. So I was pretty terrified for a while, uh, knowing that that thing tried to get me right down the road. And that was the first time anything like it ever happened. And that was the reason my whole life, the only thing I ever believed in was like a werewolf. I wasn't scared of wolves, but and I always loved wolves, but um from that point on, I'd always believed in werewolves after that. And I didn't even know what uh Bigfoot was really. I'd heard a lot about it in Tennessee, but not much as a kid. And not didn't pay it no attention, but didn't really believe in all that stuff. But that's the only thing my whole life I ever believed in, until later on down the road when I moved to where my farm is.
Okay, real quick before you continue the story, what did this creature look like? Was it on all fours or was it standing up? Can you describe the features, like the colors and everything?
It looked like a regular wolf, grand white wolf. Um, and all I can remember was it gnarling and growling and slobbering, and there's teeth right there in front of my face, and right there just inches from my eyeballs. And I don't know how it got its head in the window. I'm just going idling down the dirt road quietly. You know how you just idle talking, and it just tried to come through the window and get me. I don't know if it was standing beside the road. I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know how it got its head in that window as quick as it did. I don't know. Um, and so, needless to say, I slept the lights on for a long time after that, and I finally got over it. Um, but it took me a while. But like I say, it's the only thing in my whole life I ever believed in for a long time was that was because of that incident there.
Mm.
And but after that, the craziest, weirdest thing was after that happened, uh, within like a year apart of each other, and several other times. But 2 times I saw the black dog try doing the same thing, but it couldn't get in the window. But after that incident, I never went down a dirt road again unless my window was at least three-fourths of the way up. And I've told everybody in my family, whatever you do, don't go down the road, a dirt road at night. I don't care what you're in, without your window being three-fourths of the way up, if you can't see what's around you, all the way around you. Um, and so since that day, I've never gone down a dirt road at night without my window three-fourths of the way up because of that. And like I say, several other times, twice, I saw a black dog on a dirt road down in the other side of Gainesville once, and I was trying to the other place. I think it was up in Hickory County, but it's been a while. But I saw a black dog tried to jump in my window, but it couldn't. It didn't really have a chance. But it tried, but it didn't have a chance. Because there's a dog on four legs.
Could you describe what that dog looked like? Like, did it have short hair, or
The one
was
that
it a bit
tried to get
longer?
me,
Yeah.
it had fuzzy hair like a regular wolf. It had like, because I knew instantly what it was when I saw it. I knew instantly what it was, that it was a wolf. And and people say that we don't got wolves, but we do. Even down on my farm, the neighbors didn't believe me when I tried telling them we had wolves. Uh, I had a pet wolf, and and I've had them my whole life. Even after this incident, you wouldn't think I would, but I have. And they've been very protective of me, and I never was afraid of just a wolf. But uh, they were the best friends I ever had,
So
and
you
the most
think,
loyal.
yeah. So you think this creature was simply a wolf, or do you think it was something else?
It, I don't know. It had to be something else
Hmm. Did you notice the
because
hair around its neck being any longer than the rest of its hair?
no,
Okay.
no, it was. I could see a lot of fur. There was a lot of fur, and I could tell it was gray and white. It looked gray and white. Um, it was dark, but I could still tell that it had a mixture of colors. Um, it didn't look black. It wasn't black. You know, um, I'd had a pet wolf in Tennessee even before we'd moved up here to Missouri, and I had a pet black wolf. Um, and it wasn't nothing like that. This wolf was real fuzzy. It was real fuzzy. It had a real thick neck, and that's probably the only reason it didn't get on through the window any further than what it did. It had a great big head. You know, I thought to myself, maybe, it had rabies or something. Maybe it was some kind of wolf somehow was able to, because wolves get big. So I thought maybe somehow it was able to get up there and grab a hold and stick its head in while the car was moving and hold on, you know. And uh, I had never heard of any such thing as a dog man. I didn't even hear any such thing of a dog man or anything like that until I think maybe a couple of years ago. It was the first I'd ever heard of something like that. But but I just thought maybe it was a werewolf or something like that. I mean, I didn't know. I didn't believe that people could change into one, like human form, go from human form to wolf form. You know what I'm saying? I didn't believe in something like that,
Hmm.
but I believed that there was something out there that was just stayed that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. All right, Sandra. Well, if you would continue on with your story, and I'm interested to hear more of your encounters.
Uh, well, um, I went on home, uh, and I was scared to tell anybody,
Hmm.
what happened,
Yeah.
because I thought they'd think I was crazy and they wouldn't believe me. So all I said was this crazy wolf thing. It's all I said. I never told them anything else because I was afraid everybody'd laugh at me or something. They wouldn't believe me. Being young and stuff. And that's all I told them. Even my own mom. All I told them was this wolf thing that had rabies or something tried to get in my window and get me. And that was all I said. Nobody seemed like they cared, so that was the end of it. And I never told anybody else that story until, in my later years. But it never kept me from having a wolf because I knew whatever was getting in my car that night, that wasn't no regular wolf. I knew that. But anyways, um, throughout the years, uh, I finally bought my farm down there in Hickory County, but um, and it was real peaceful there. I didn't have no problems for a really long time, and um, just weird things was happening all the time. And I thought maybe uh, the neighbors was playing games with me or whatever, just messing with me or whatever. Every time I go down to the pond fishing, it's about 35 yards down below, and uh, the back porch, and I'd go fishing all the time. I stalked it real good with fish and everything. And um, anyway, rocks, something with their rocks in the pond all the time, even when I was there by myself. And I still wouldn't think anything of it, I think. Because like I said, I never thought about Bigfoot or anything like that. Um, just I went hunting all the time, deer hunting. I'd go back off into the woods, miles and miles in the dark without a flashlight. Um, it didn't, I never thought about something being wrong, not being right. And anyway, that's how it started. Rocks. And then the rocks would get bigger and bigger and bigger, And I think, how can somebody be throwing a rock at us, you know, without me seeing where they are? Is what I'd be thinking. And one day a friend of mine was down visiting, and they was on the other side of the pond, and I kept thinking they was throwing rocks at me, and I said, "You need to stop throwing rocks at me because you're messing up my fishing." And I was getting irritated. I was starting to get real upset. And they kept saying, "Well, I'm not throwing no rocks. I promise you, Sandy, I'm not throwing no rocks." And I said, "Okay, right." Every time I look away, you're chunking a rock. And them rocks kept getting really big. The whole pond was really throwing waves. And I thought, man, they can't be throwing them rocks that big. I see them. And then they started getting mad at me because they thought I was throwing rocks back at them, you know. And this went on all the time with somebody, back and forth, or just me, constantly. And and anyway, I'd see tracks around there all the time, big tracks, and I wouldn't think anything of it. I just figured it was a bear. And it was always getting in my feed barrel, my horse feed barrel, and eating the corn. And I thought, but it never dawned on me. This is how naive I was. It never dawned on me that bears don't put the lids back on the feed barrels. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
lids would be back on the barrels. And it's finally one day, I woke up, you know, I woke up and I'm like, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? Why didn't I get before that bears don't put the lids back on the feed barrels? They just didn't go on. And that's when I started paying attention. And this took several years of me living there to get it. And I would hear people, or I thought people hammering, back in the woods, when I knowed there wasn't supposed to be nobody back here, because it's private property. And I knowed everybody that owned the land. And I know they wouldn't be building them a tree house, climbing up the tree, because they were older until their kids become teenagers. And then I was all over them hundreds of acres back here, and I didn't never see no new tree stands. I never saw no new tree stand. I never saw no tree stands. None. Not a single one. And I thought, boy, that sure is strange. There's an awful lot of sounds going on. But yeah, it took me a while to kind of put two and two together. And I started seeing reflections in my pond water. When the water shield would be cleared off, I started seeing reflections in my pond water. And it started kind of frightening me. And I thought, man, um, I thought seeing things. And I had my camcorder out, and I got I filmed a lot of this. I've got all my stuff boxed up, and I finally found my camcorder, but I got to find the right tape that goes in it. It takes those little B tapes, but you can see the reflections in the pond water. And there's one of them that carries a staff. He literally carries a staff, and he's got like silver gray hair, not much on top. He looks kind of like an old hillbilly you would see out in the Ozarks somewhere, except with no clothes on and hairy, except on top of his head and his face, part of his face not having hair on it.
Mm-hmm.
But and I've seen smaller ones, and I've seen a woman one together down there. And I finally started figuring out most of the time when they was coming through, it'd be toward the fall. But one day, I'll tell you, this is frightening. When I first finally got it, was my right side on sight experience with one about 35 yards away from me. And it was a long experience. It wasn't just a quick experience. It was a really long experience. And it was getting it toward the evening coming on. I had to go out and feed the horses. And if I sound really nervous right now, I apologize. But anyway, I went outside, and I was at the end of the trailer, and I heard a terrible commotion coming all the way across the whole entire side of the property, coming down toward the neighbors. And I thought, what in the world is that? I thought maybe I thought that elk. People, everybody in the country around there kept saying there was an elk because they would say they'd hear elk, uh, making sounds, bugling or whatever it is they do.
Hmm.
Um, and so everybody thought there was an elk back here. But I finally realized a long time later it wasn't no elk making that sound. It was them. And but anyways, uh, 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 I heard it coming from all over across the side of the property, and I got about 20 acres, and and I could hear from hunting my whole life. I could hear the sounds of the limbs breaking, and I could hear the limbs on the ground that it was stepping on breaking. So I knew I could tell how dry and how old them limbs was on the ground, how big around they was by the sounds they was making when it stepped on it. And I knew it was big, and I knew it was heavy. I knew this was something big. And I hear bugs coming through there all the time. All kind of things come through there because I got that spring-fed pond out there, and I don't let nobody kill nothing or shoot nothing or anything around it. It's very sacred to me, and so I keep it very peaceful there, and I will only hunt uh, far from there. And so uh, anyway, I heard it, and I thought, well, I'm just gonna squat down here, and I'm gonna see what's gonna come out of them woods. Because I'm not going nowhere till I see what's coming out of them woods. Because I had never heard nothing this big, making this much racket. And it didn't care how much noise it made. That was the odd thing. It didn't care. It didn't care. So I figured afterwards it must have known me real well, or it would have cared. It would have tried not to make a sound like it was doing. But anyways, I squatted down in my wolf dog. I had a solid white wolf dog named Dandy, and she sat down beside me, and I had a little chili dog, a little uh, part um, mini dove and something else. She was fire red, and I mean, she had a temper. She wasn't scared of nothing. Wasn't nothing scared of that little dog. I don't care what if it was a bear or what. She wouldn't back down from barking and being crazy, especially if she had Dandy, my wolf dog, to back her up. And because she was a pretty good sized dog. And anyway, she went down, and I had a boat trailer down there, and she ran down and she got up underneath the boat trailer, and she didn't make a single sound. And I thought that's kind of odd, you know. And Danny just stayed right beside me, and she never made a sound except a slight little whimper. And finally kept getting closer and closer and closer, and I heard it coming up the embankment, the levee, and it come out right the corner of it. And man, when it made an appearance right there on the corner of that levee, and I saw what I saw, I kept rubbing my eyes. I kept saying, I'm not seeing what I'm seeing, you know. And I thought, is somebody playing a joke on me? You know, and I'm backtracking, and I'm thinking, nobody's that stupid. They know me. They know they'll get shot if they come around here like that. I won't think twice to shoot them. You know, dressed like that, coming around here during daylight hours. Messing with me. They know not to do that to me. And I thought, and I couldn't think of anybody I knew that was that big. You know, nobody. And I thought, well, the neighbor's son that follows me around half the time, when he was little in the woods, well, he's grown now, but he ain't that big. He wouldn't be messing with me. It can't be him. And I thought, he's the only one I know that would do something like this. And then I thought, no, there's just no way. There's no way. It weighed too much. There's no way any man on this planet can weigh as much as that thing weighed. Uh, from the sounds of walking and stuff. I know what a 250-pound deer sounds like, Uh, I know what I could hear them bears coming through the woods. I know what they sound like, and this thing was stout and it was big, but it was perfect. Perfect. It was perfectly shaped body. Like, it was, its arms is the right length, its legs, to its height. Perfect. It didn't have longer arms or anything like that. And it was real dark brown. And it was, like I say, from that point, it would have been at least 40 yards from me. And it started walking. It started walking down along the other side of the pond embankment, and it's all cleared out to there. It had all mowed down like a park over there, under the trees and stuff, and you could see everything. You could see the reflections of a deer all the way up on top of the hill. At the fence line, you could see the reflections of a deer or anything that come through. You could see the reflection in the water down here right there in the pond, and it's all clear. Nothing obscuring my view. And it slowly started walking toward this little bridge that I got that goes across the creek that runs into the pond. But you know what was on the other side of that bridge? At the little pond above me, the Amish lived next door, and they had a bunch of youngins. And it was getting toward supper time, so she always let the youngins out around that time to go down there and play, or go down there and fish for perch in that little pond up there. And they were all up there laughing and playing and cutting up and carrying on. And that thing was heading straight to them. And I'm thinking to myself, Miguel, what do I do? If I run in the house and get my 35 and I lose sight of it, it's likely to get off some of them kids. If I keep sight of it, Dandy will help me, and at least I can scream and they can get away. There's a chance. But if I run inside and I get my rifle, then I lose sight of it, and I don't know where that thing is at. It's liable to get me coming out, and I'm not going to be no help to them kids. So, my wolf dog, Brave Dandy, she's dead now. But when it got to the bridge, it walked, and it slowly him hawing, just slowly, nonchalantly walking along like it didn't have a bit of worry in the world, wasn't worried about nothing, just slowly walking along. And when it got to that bridge, there was a barbed wire fence on between that thing and my dog. My wolf dog ran all the way down, about 10 foot from the barbed wire fence. And boy, she started raising Cain. And she wasn't going to give it up. And it tried to ignore her and was going to walk on. And every time it would try to ignore and walk on, she'd get closer and get more aggressive. And so finally, it started stammering. It started stammering. Would move its shoulders. Kind of, I don't know if you know what I mean, when someone thinks you're going to turn around and they can't make up their mind. It kept trying to make up its mind whether to turn around and go back or go forward. It'd kind of do a half turn and turn back forward, do a half turn and turn back forward. And it finally decided to go ahead and turn around and go back the other way. And I'm thinking, oh, thank you, God, thank you, God, thank you, God, because I didn't know what I was going to do. And I didn't know what I was going to do. But I knew I had to watch out for those kids, and I knew I couldn't run and get my gun. I just didn't have time for it, because the kids was only like, the kids couldn't see it, thank goodness, from where they were, because there was a bunch of trees between them and it. And so the kids couldn't see it. And so, but it was probably only 25 yards from the kids. Yeah, maybe 20 yards, 25 yards from the kids. Yeah, I was really close to them. And there was also a barbed wire fence between it and the kids. And so anyway, it turned around. It slowly turned around. It started back the other way. And as soon as it turned around and started back the other way, Dandy come running back straight to me and sat down right beside me. And that thing acted like it never even saw me. I know it had known I was there, but it might not have, because I don't remember what direction the wind was blowing that day. So I have no idea, with all this going on. And so, Danny turned around, she come back, she sat right down beside me, and little old chilly dog, he's still underneath that trailer, and she's still not barking or doing anything. She didn't even go down there by Dandy's side, and she's always by Dandy's side if Dandy's at something. She didn't even go with Dandy. It's the first time I'd ever seen that dog since she was born not to go with that dog and fight beside her. It was the only time ever. But she wouldn't do it. And she wasn't giving away her position. She wasn't stupid. And so anyway, it slowly, nonchalantly walks back to the corner of the pond. And all of a sudden it stops. It stops. It stops at the corner of the pond again. It stops. And I said, oh God, no, please, please, no, no, no. It started doing that stammering thing, trying to make up his mind. It was coming back or going. Well, guess what it done? It turned around and started back. And here it comes again. Here it comes again. Here it comes again. Right down the same path, right to the same bridge, and it gets right back to the same exact spot. And I'm about to have a heart attack, but I'm calm. I'm remaining calm. I know not to get too excited, but because I had to figure out for them kids' safety what was going to be my next step. And I knew between me and Dandy, and Chili would have got involved had I gotten involved in it. She would have too helped create a distraction. But I knew between us, with our screaming and hollering, that the kids would run. So I at least could give them a chance if I didn't go for my gun. You know what I'm saying? I couldn't let it out of my sight.
Mm-hmm.
And so, boy, it scares me just the thought of it right now, how close it was. And I don't know if it were taking with them kids. I don't know. But the ones that messed around were usually, not aggressive at all. It wasn't until the end. But anyway, this thing keeps stammering. This time it don't want to give it up. This time it does not want to turn and go back. It wants to go on up there. Them kids are so bad. This time, Dandy had to get all the way to the fence and get a lot more aggressive. And it started doing that stammering thing again. And it slowly turns around and starts going back the other way, and it's slowing down a little bit, but it's still going. And it gets right back to the corner again, and it stops. And I'm thinking, oh, and I'm praying hard, hard, hard. By this point, I'm praying really hard to keep going, to keep going, to keep going. You know what I'm saying? And it did. It finally, after it took a few seconds to think about it, before it started down that incline or decline or whatever you want to call that embankment. But it went on down it, and I listened, and I listened, and I listened until I could hear it a long way off going. You know what I'm saying? And I knew that thing was far away, and I knew them kids were back to their house.
Yeah. So do you think the Sasquatch was targeting the children?
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt.
Can you describe... Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry. Yeah, they were laughing and playing and cutting up there. And I'm sure you'd probably seen them 100 times. But I don't know because, see, they migrate through there. They weren't there all the time. But sometimes they would hang around for a while toward the fall and the winter months and, help my horses eat their feed, But that's how I know for sure. There's around their tracks around the trailer. But yeah, it was migrate. It was targeting the kids.
Yeah. And what did the creature look like? Can you describe the features, like what color it was, how tall, and anything you can remember?
Its face was shadowed. Its face was a dark shadow because of the trees, because it was standing under trees. And so its face was shadowed where I couldn't tell I could see its face. I did a sketch of it in one of my books here. I got a sketch of it, a really good sketch of it. But it looked like a bodybuilder with hair, perfectly proportioned. Its arms, its legs, its waist, all perfectly proportioned to its height. It didn't have one of those short necks or dome heads. It looked like a real dark-haired, long-haired guy with a hairy face, except for, like I say, the front part right there, where its nose and eyes, I could see the hair on its face, on the side of its face, but I couldn't see, and the outline of it and everything, but I couldn't see the shape of its nose or its lips, or its eyes. I couldn't see the color of its eyes. But yeah, it looked like a perfectly proportioned, really hairy guy. Is what it looked like.
Okay, I appreciate you
And
for sharing that with me. And you think the Sasquatch was getting ready to fight your dogs?
um, you know, I don't know what would have happened if that barbed wire fence hadn't been there. If that barbed wire fence hadn't been there, Dandy would have went ahead and attacked it probably. If she had thought, if it had tried to make another step toward those kids, she would have attacked it. And it knew that she was going to attack it. It knew because every time it even acted like it wanted to go forward, Dandy became more aggressive. And it knew that it was going to have to battle that dog. And I don't know if it saw me sitting over there real quietly or not. I was all hunkered down at the end of the trailer, at least I'd say 25 to 30 yards away. See, the pond is right at 35 and 40 yards. And that had been a little closer. See, the trailer's 70, so it was 70 feet. And it was twice the length of the trailer where it was standing. So that'd be 140 feet. So how many yards is 140 feet?
I'm not sure, but I can visualize the distance.
That's pretty much exactly how far away it was from me. And but there's this thing built back there between me and the neighbors, and it's been there for 15 years at least, and it's covered in moss, and it's made a great big, like 6 by 6 and 8 by 10 to 12 foot long trees, just all kind of stacked together like a teepee,
Mm.
kind of like a half teepee. Um, like they kind of smashed it in on one side, but yeah, and it's been back there, and everybody thought us neighbors thought the other ones made it, and then we got to talking one day, and none of us had done it. None of us had done it, and I realized, they've had a home right here among us this whole time, and none of us never even realized it because we all thought the other one did it. You know. After
Mm.
this incident, though, I started asking questions. You know, um, but not hardly any questions, just about that, and I'll tell you why. Because people around there are funny, and not funny, but they won't talk about things like that. They won't talk about what's in the sky. They won't talk about what's on the ground. They won't talk to you about nothing. And if you try to, they'll say you're crazy. That investigator that come down there, Gary, uh, my uncle knew him, uh, met him somehow, and he sent him. Let's see if how this worked. My uncle met him, and he was telling him about something I had witnessed down there, and nobody knew about this incident because there was no witnesses to it except for me. And he got it from a report he actually wasn't even supposed to have, and which caused a serious problem later. A very serious problem later. That's why I was concerned for my safety. For anybody knowing anything in my name associated, because of the disappearance of somebody, and the disappearance of someone from a place they shouldn't have disappeared from. You might as well say their own people. And anyway, he came down to specifically talk to me when my other uncle had given him my location and was telling him about this, that it happened. And he's like, wow, nobody else knows about that. I need to go talk to her. And so my uncle called me and asked if he could come talk to me. I said, sure. And that's when I started opening up and telling him everything about everything that's been going on down there. And it's pretty deep. And then I told him about the Sasquatches as well, because he investigated all that. He travels all over the United States, everywhere, investigating. He's done it, you know, for so long. I don't even know how many years it's been now, but it's been many, many years. His name's Gary. You may know him. I'm not sure. I'm sure he still did it. Gary Hart is his name.
I haven't heard of him.
You have never heard of him?
No, is he with the BFRO?
I don't know. No, no, I don't believe so. No, not to my knowledge, not back then, anyways. I don't think he. I'm pretty sure he wasn't. He went and tried to talk to the neighbors about. See, before I even knew he was there, he went and tried to. No, I had just met him the first time. This is the second time he came down because he came down numerous times. But he went and tried to talk to the neighbors and asking them questions about things. And you know what the neighbors told him? The neighbors told him I was crazy. And oh, Gary got mad. He said, "Let me tell you something. She's not crazy." Said, I know Sandy. I've met her and I know her. And what she's told me, I've witnessed it with my own eyes and I've seen it. So you're not going to tell me that she's crazy because I've seen it for myself, what I'm telling you." And he had. I was with him when he seen it for himself. And things that go on down there up in the sky, you wouldn't believe it. It's amazing sometimes. It's absolutely amazing what actually goes on down there. Um, it's actually terrifying. I don't, it's terrifying.
Okay.
I'm telling you, I don't know if it's something you want to talk about on here,
Yeah.
really.
No, you're fine to mention it.
Um, well, I don't know if it could cause a problem or not, is what I'm saying. Um, because there's so much involved in it. And, there's people involved in it and stuff. And it's, it's the reason I've kept my mouth shut for so long.
Well, I'll
And I
leave that
haven't
up
told
to you,
anybody.
and I'm all ears if you want
Um,
to talk about it.
well, uh, his friend that he got to report from in a office, he shouldn't have given him the report, but I guess he did. And anyways, after he came down and talked to me, he disappeared. And when he went back to talk to me, after he talked to me, and because I had the exact location and of the incident that took place in the sky, and anyway, after he left my house and he went back up there, he turned after he went up there to talk to his friend at his office. They told him, he said, "We don't know who you're talking about. He's never worked here. We've never heard that name, and you need to leave, sir. We don't know who you're talking about. That man's never worked here." And he's like, "What are you talking about? He's always worked here." And but now they run him off and they told him that he never even worked there. And that's pretty bad for the office that he held. For that to happen. And so he left Illinois and turned around, come all the way back down to my house and told me what was going on and what had happened. And I'm like, man, that's scary. That's really scary. So I kept my mouth shut after that and I didn't open it up because uh, it's like a train in the sky down there. There's this place. First of all, let me tell you about this place back off in the woods. Um, Me and a friend of mine went back off in the woods deer hunting one morning, and I already seen what had been landing back there, and back off there in them woods. Uh, um, we were back there. It was pretty far back off, a couple miles from the house, deep in the woods, and there's this giant mound cleared out, uh, this big old circle mound. And if you go straight downhill, it's like a keyhole. It looks just like a one of them old keys, the shape of it. But on this big old mound, it keeps going uphill. Uh, the deer in the early morning, that morning, I had never seen anything like it in my life. It was like something in a movie scene. Uh, we were uh, sitting there a little ways from each other, probably, I don't know, 15 yards, maybe 20 yards at the most, because we were both hunting, and giving each other a little bit of space. But it was dark, and I wasn't familiar back there where I was because I'd never been back there at that spot. He had discovered it and wanted to take me back there to see it because he's amazed by it. During the daytime. So I went with him. We headed that way that morning, but we got over there. All right. Here we go again, the same game with with the rocks, the same person, matter of fact. So I was arguing with them one time. I said, "Quit throwing the rocks over here." Well, this time I was hollering at him, "You better stop throwing cigarettes at me." What are you throwing cigarettes at me when I'm trying to deer hunt? Why would you do that? He said, I'm not throwing cigarette butts at you. I said, you're throwing lit cigarette butts at me. He said, no, I'm not. So we started arguing a little bit. Then he started getting mad at me, saying I was throwing cigarette butts at him uh, because he thought I was mad because I thought he was doing it. See, well, it wasn't the case. And all of a sudden, it's still dark. All of a sudden, it starts raining fire all over this whole field. This big old circle field that starts raining fire down. I mean, it's like pouring down rain, but it's all fire. It's all hot coals of fire, and it's crazy. It's insane. And okay, finally the fire lets off. You know, it stops doing this, and it's starting to break. It's starting to break day, and so about that time, it's just barely getting daylight, and we look up, and there are hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of deers coming in all the way around, going straight up to the top of this hill, and I'm like, wow. I've seen herds of deer of 150, almost trample me out in the woods before at the end of rut season. But I had never seen that many deer at one time in my life, and neither had he. But anyways, they were all going straight up to the top of this hill. And all right, then a little bit later, I said, well, I'm getting me one of them deer. I'm just going to go ahead and get me one of them deer. So, and I guess he had the same thought in his head too. We weren't going to go home empty handed. And after one passed by my tree, I went to shoot at it, right? Okay. I go to shoot at it. I got the bullet in the chamber. The safety's off. My gun won't fire. My gun will not fire. And I'm like, what in the world's wrong with my gun? And Mike's over there. His gun won't fire. His gun's doing the same thing. His gun won't fire either. And he also says, Sammy, my gun won't fire. And I'm like, Mike, my gun won't fire either. And we're both really, really confused because our weapons won't fire. And, there's no reason why our weapons shouldn't fire. It didn't take us long. We were up and running at full speed. We were up and running at full speed. We didn't sit there and talk about it. As soon as we realized we were both having the same problem and there was something bad wrong, especially after what we had just witnessed, we were on our way home. We were leaving. We were leaving the scene, and we let the dead run. And we went as fast as we could for as far as we could, until we slowed down to a jog, until we slowed down to a walk, until we couldn't run no further. But it scared us. And then after we got to the house, we checked our guns to see if they would fire. Both guns fired. There wasn't nothing wrong with them. Neither gun would fire. It was like we were in some sort of, I don't know. I've not figured that one out yet. I know that was a meteorite site there when I studied geology and went to college and stuff. I got SMS down there because they said it wasn't nothing there, but it was. It was a meteorite site, the Wablo meteorite site. And anyway, that's another long story. But see, there's a lot of rare earth elements there because of that meteorite site. It was a very large one, and Wablo is surrounded by a large, like moat ring, you might say, the ring of it, where the impact, the entire town is, and but further out. And anyway, it was a big one in a very shallow lake during a Cretaceous time when it hit. And anyway, there's a lot of rare earth elements there because of that impact. And I think all of this going on has a lot to do with it. I think it has a lot to do with it. I have seen craft the length of football fields there. Between me and my neighbor's house, I saw craft, and most of them are completely surrounded in cold, red hot orange lights. Not all of them, but the majority of them. This big one I saw between my neighbor Joe, I shouldn't have said that. If you want to edit that out, he's passed away now.
Okay, I'll cut that out.
He passed away this past year. But anyway,
I'm sorry to hear
people
that.
for sure know who I am if you see people. But anyway, yeah, it was a length of a football field at least. It was between me and him, and it was enormous. But we see him all the time down there. And um, one night, well, oh my gosh, there's just so many different things. Um, one night, my uncle, one evening, it was still daylight this time, and my uncle was coming in from town, and one of them was following him, and followed him almost all the way to the house, and which wasn't really, I wasn't surprised at all. So I thought, well, it's getting dark, and I thought I'm gonna go on down the dirt road and see if I can spot it, you know. And it always seemed like about 3 or 4 days before the moon got full, uh, but there was a lot of light that started showing up where you spot them real easy. And anyway, even my neighbor down there, him and his girlfriend used to sit and watch him in the sky. But he wouldn't tell that investigator that when he went down there. He told the investigator I was crazy and he wouldn't admit to it. What he had told me and my whole family. They would never admit to any of it. And um, anyway, me and my granddaughter, she was about 10 or 11 at the time. We go down the dirt road and we're in front of this big ranch, and uh, down to like a three-way. And anyway, I seen one rising up uh, on across the other dirt road. I seen one rising up from the dirt road behind him, might be better say. And then uh, there was two of them there that night.
Could you
One,
describe what they look like so I can have a better picture in my mind?
these, well, I've seen different colored ones. Like uh, I've seen them with neon lights, neon colored lights of like pastel colors
Hmm.
that to land right out in the field. And I've seen them with and they shoot. It's like there's always these little bubbles and orbs of blue lights. They look like the size of Christmas tree balls, and they're clear, but they put off a like a fluorescent blue hue. And I've seen those during the day floating over my pond, um, before they show up or after they show up, and sometimes before and after. But uh, it seems like it always happens. These little bubbles before or after one shows up, and most of them have like you know what the color of coal embers look like
Hmm. Yeah. Like a
in a
reddish orange
fire.
color?
Yeah, that's the color.
Okay, yeah, I've
That's
seen
the
that
color,
before.
and lights all the way around them. And some of them's been square, some has been round. It's odd, and I've seen triangular ones, and I've seen many different kinds. Um, and everybody in my family has that's lived there. Like I say, this one of them followed my uncle back, and so that's why I was just out exploring. I didn't have no idea what was going to happen to me when I left that house, and I wouldn't have never taken my 10, she's 10 or 11 years on my granddaughter. She can tell you the story herself. Um, okay, I turned my vehicle around at the T, facing back toward my place. Okay, uh, anyway, I saw it rising on the other side of that one dirt road. I saw it rising up, getting a little higher and getting a little higher. Anyway, it started coming across the field. It was let's see, it wasn't, um, okay, you know how tall a feed silo is?
Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, it was barely above the height of a feed silo. And anyways, um, it was coming across, and I saw another one starting to rise up, but it was staying back there where it was. And I hadn't paid much attention to the sounds yet or anything, and I hadn't seen no bubbles or anything yet. This thing, I kid you not, God help me, I'm telling you the truth. This is what happened. God help me, I'm telling you the truth. God strike me down if I'm not telling you the truth, man. Um, uh, oh, my poor granddaughter. My granddaughter was in the floorboard board of my CRV, screaming bloody murder, crying for her life. Um, it gets over the bench house and it decides to make a U-turn. Everything always decides to turn around and come back. This stupid thing decided to turn around and come back. Anyway, it gets over the ranch house and it makes this big U-turn, you know, uh, and it starts coming right to us. I'm parked on the dirt road right underneath the power lines. The power lines are right above me, to the right of me, because I'm on, the right hand side of the road. And my granddaughter would have been against the fence line, on that side, on the passenger side was against the fence line, on the side of the ranch. This thing does this big U-turn and it starts coming downward. Because it's coming downward. And I'm talking on the phone at the time with my other uncle because he loves to hear about this stuff. He always wants me to call him every time something's happening. He wants me to call him right away and tell him what's going on, And so I do, and that's one of the moments I was doing. I called him on my way down there and I had him on the phone. And about this time, this thing starts coming right at me and Kendra, and it's starting to come downward. And I'm not thinking about the power line because I'm not even paying attention about the power line. But it made sense. This is what happened. Me and Kendra's watching. And I start screaming on the phone with my Uncle Jerry, it's coming right at me. It's charging me. It's coming right at me. It made a U-turn and it's coming right at me. It's charging me. It's coming right at me. What do I do? And I am begging him to tell me what to do. I don't know what to do because I know I don't have time to throw it in reverse or start the vehicle and get out of there. I knew I didn't have time for that at the speed at which it was coming toward me. But right before this thing, it was messing with me. Right before this thing got to me, right before it got to the power lines, I kid you not, it vanished in front of my eyes. It vanished in front of my eyes. It vanished. It completely disappeared right in front of my eyes. And poor little Kendra, she's only like 10 or 11 then. She's still down in the floorboard by this point. I don't remember at what point she got in that floorboard. I don't remember. It was just so crazy at the moment everything was happening. But it vanished. It vanished right before it got to the power lines, right before it vanished. It just vanished right in front of us. And then I'm like, I was so thankful that happened. And I'm like, on the phone with my uncle, I'm like, Jerry, it just disappeared. It just disappeared right in front of us. And then after this happened, it just disappeared in front of us. I don't even remember what happened to the other one. I don't even remember. But it seems like, I don't know if the window was down or if I rolled it down on Kendra's side. But anyway, all the animals across the field, every animal, every insect, every bug, everything, it's like they all went into sync together, making this sound all in sync. It was like, it was a sound. It was like, it wasn't silent. It was a sound, like you would hear some sort of special sound from an orchestra or something where everything's in harmony, where everything's in perfect sync with each other. The sound of the bugs changed. The sound of the wild animals, the coyotes, birds, everything in that field and as far away as we could hear completely changed sounds and was all in complete tune with each other. Complete tune. It was a low vibration. It was like, it wasn't a real high sound. It was like a lower sound. That's why I want to say low vibration, but I don't know if that'd be low or high because I'm not musically inclined. But it was like, I don't know what frequency it'd be. But anyways, after all this happened and the sound was being created, these little bubbles I was telling you about started floating around everywhere. They started up higher than I normally see them, and they started floating, and they stay up above about the height of high grass, real high, tall orchard grass. You know, they come down and they float. They just float. They just kind of bounce like bubbles in the wind, and they just kind of bounce and float along the tops of the grass. And and then sometimes they'll rise up a little and they'll fall back down. They'll rise up and they'll fall back down. And they started heading toward my place. All thousands and thousands of these little bubble things are heading straight to my place, to my house. And I said, "Oh my gosh, Kendra, we got to get down to the house. Uncle Bloss is dinner by himself." And 'cause I didn't know what was going to happen. After this just happened, I had no idea what was next. So I put that baby in gear, and me and her all butt down to the house. And anyway, we got dinner, and I'm like, Uncle Bloss, you okay? You okay? And he's like, yeah, he was down there sleeping. Didn't know a thing in the world was going on. He's just down there sleeping. Didn't much bother him. And I was relieved he was okay. But it wasn't the first time I'd seen them. The first time I seen them bubbles during the daytime over the corner of my pond. Me and his girlfriend, and he was looking out the kitchen window. And I thought it was when I first seen it, we thought it was you know, some kind of something making these shiny things in there. It was strange. We never did figure it out that day. And it wasn't until after that that I started seeing them at the evening time whenever I would see a craft or something. But Miguel, I kid you not, usually after some sort of incident, I've seen blue explosions. Gary witnessed it too. I see blue, fluorescent, ultraviolet blue explosions. The first time I saw one, I was looking north out the end of my trailer window across the dirt road into the woods. And there wasn't nobody living over there at the time. There wasn't no house built over there at the time. And a blue explosion, a fluorescent neon blue explosion, went up out of the woods, went way above the treetops in like a circular pattern. You know, I don't know how far out. I'm not good at directions, but I'd say it was at least, no, it was a lot further than down to my pond. So it's been more than 40 yards for sure. But it went way out and above the treetops, and then it just collapsed. These blue explosions, and I started seeing them. And the first one I seen was across the trailer to the north, and then I started seeing them explode out in the woods and down the fields and different places around there. And me and him tried to figure out with magnets and compasses and all sorts of things, trying to find particular places on the property, because every once in a while I would see places glowing on the ground for a little bit, and then I might never see it again. And I figured it was some sort of mineral, but we was using all kinds of things trying to figure out, what the heck was going on. But I kid you not, after all these things would happen and go on around there, this one night, the first time I seen it, I couldn't believe my eyes. I know I told you I get excited. I'm talking 100 miles an hour because my brain's clicking and I'm thinking, so please forgive me for talking so fast.
No,
I don't
fine.
mean to.
You're fine.
Just edit me all you want to. You're probably going to have to after you listen to me if you're recording this. So, yeah.
No, you're fine. Sandra, if you would, I know you mentioned earlier that before you told the pond story that you saw a female and a little one and I think another individual. If you would go into that encounter story, and I'd like to hear kind of what happened, if you'd walk me through it, please.
The only way I could see them with the family when this one was carrying the staff, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think so. You mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, he carried a beautiful staff. Whenever I saw them, I seen him. This individual one with I told you was bald on top light.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't tell you about the holy white one out in the woods yet. I didn't tell you about that one. I thought I was going nuts that day for sure.
Okay, tell me about this individual with the staff, and if you could describe the staff and what the creature looked like as far as the hair color, the eye shape, and what it looked like in general.
He was just silver. He wasn't that tall. Didn't seem to be. But see, what it's going to tell you is I could only see them most of the time through the reflection in the pond water.
Okay, yeah, I remember you mentioning that.
I think there's something special about that pond. I think there's something special about it. And I think that the island that I have in the pond is actually part of a meteorite. Because the neighbors told me that he tried blowing it up with dynamite and everything, and he could never blow it up or anything. So he left it there, and that's how the island got created. And then it becomes Snake Island because we got so many rattlesnakes. But anyway, this fella, this individual, he didn't have. He's horrible looking. Uh, uh, just horrible looking, really. But he doesn't have much, hardly any hair on top, and like a mustache and beard, real full and heavy and real hairy all over. But he's like silver color, like a silver, yeah, just silvers. It's like he's very old and wise. And this staff he carries is taller than he is, and it looks like an ivory carving, like a twisted ivory carving at the very top of it. It's beautiful. It's actually beautiful. I'm going to try my best to find that tape. Now, this is the old camcorder I got. And if I can find that tape, which I'm sure I will, it might take me a little bit, not that long, but if that thing still exists, which I know it does, my mom told me to never show anybody and to burn it, throw it away, but I didn't do it. I put it back just in case in the future. You know, I didn't want the wrong people to get a hold of it and see it and come in and destroy what I had there or hurt something good. You know what I'm saying? At that time, it was different than it is now. You know, it was a lot different then. But anyways, if I'll find that tape. I'll show you. And I've got a sketch of it. I can take a picture of it and send you what he looks like. A sketch of this particular one with the staff in his hand.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, and whenever I see him, I generally see a woman and a young one. And I could always see the reflection in the pond water. And even if I couldn't see them, I could see the reflection. You know what I'm saying? And I would think I'd see them down there, but I wouldn't even be for sure because they would always, you know, like be behind a tree or something like that. But I don't know. The other ones I didn't have a hard time seeing at all. But it's like I wondered even if maybe they weren't spirits. You know what I'm saying? If they weren't maybe spirits or something.
Yeah.
You think maybe?
Yeah, could have been. If you would go into your next set of encounters, if you see anything else, and also this encounter that you had at the pond, was this in West Plains as well?
No, this is on the farm.
Okay, this is on the farm now. Okay.
Yeah, the only encounter that I told you about outside the farm was the wolf story.
Okay.
You know, the past 30 years, it's all been on the farm.
Okay, if you could just give a general location of this area as far as like West Missouri, South Missouri, Central.
It would be north of Springfield. North of Springfield.
Okay.
Probably an hour and a half north of Springfield.
Okay, that gives me an idea of where all of this happened without, knowing the exact location. But I appreciate you for sharing that. And yeah, if you would kind of dive into what else you've seen and what else you've encountered.
I mean, you're welcome to go down there to the farm anytime you want to. I'm planning on going. My home got destroyed down there, and I'm planning on moving back in the spring and putting something else in there. I'm either going to build something or I'm going to put in a prefab home in there. But I got to go home. I don't care what's happened down there. It can't be no worse than what life is like living in the city for me, because I've lived in the country my whole life. And there's been strange things happening here. And Uncle Bloss swears they followed us here somehow. But there's a reason why I say that, because something happened to me down there. But I don't want to get into that today. Because it's very emotional for me. And so, yeah. But anyways, I'm just going to go. Well, I'm just going to try to go home, I was happy there anyways.
Yeah, I hope you can get
and
back.
The only thing that tried to hurt me there was the last thing that come. Yeah, I didn't tell you about that one.
Okay.
Um, it was bad. I know it's the one that got my dog, my wolf dog pup, Danny's son. You know the wolf dog I told you I had earlier.
Hmm.
She's a beautiful white wolf, and she had a son, and he was very protective of me, and he's a big, strong dog, and um, he saved me that night. He saved my life that night, and but he got him. DA scared me to death and said he thought maybe I had a gugway. And I think he could be right. I thought maybe a dog man did the worst. You know what I'm saying? I didn't think it'd be a gugway. I didn't think he'd say gugway. I figured he'd say dog man. But it's got a real high arch. It's got three toes, three large toes, a narrow foot, a really, really high arch, and a heavy heel. It's got a heavy heel and a heavy uh it's like it walks on its three toes and its heel. Like it don't even got no arch, you know. Um because it's barely got an arch in the middle. And these are the tracks it left. Um these are the tracks it left after it terrorized me. My neighbor told me to put ashes around my trailer, real heavy, and I would be able to see. Because I asked him, I told him, uh, we tried to, me and my neighbor Norma, because I was having so many problems, we thought maybe if we got people to think I was a crazy white woman with a gun down there, people would leave me alone. And it seemed like it worked for a little bit, but not for very long, because I still just kept having trouble. And like I say, I didn't have no idea that I was having the problem I was having. You know, I was really naive and stupid about it. And, that's why it's so important that people hear your channel and understand there's things out there they don't understand. And that they need, even if they don't believe people, they need to at least give it the benefit of a doubt and at least listen to what they got to say. So maybe if they're ever in that circumstances, they might see the sign or get the feeling, and know. Then it could save their life. Because people don't want to accept it, just because they're so afraid of it. And I never was really afraid of, even after I saw that one, it didn't scare me that day. It didn't scare me that day because I was so scared for the kids. It didn't even, I just remained very calm, and I didn't get real excited because I guess I wasn't worried about me, I just worried about them kids. But, um, I'm sorry, I jump around back and forth from story to story. You got to overlook me. That's what I was telling you. Um,
No, you're fine, Sandra.
uh, but I told you I saw that it was a holy white one. I went out hunting one morning and I saw a holy white one. And I saw a holy white one. I was sitting up on the hill and I looked across the other and I kept saying, I'm not seeing what I'm seeing. There's no way I'm seeing this beautiful, holy white creature leaned back across this log like it's laying on a recliner, taking it easy in the sunshine. That's what I was seeing. I'm right across from it, probably about uh 45, 40 yards away. And I can't hardly see, my vision's not the best in the world, long distance, but and so I had to start using a scope on my gun, but it's still pretty good, with my contacts and glasses. I can still hit bullseye pretty darn good. I don't have a problem killing a deer. I've never missed one yet, so my eyes must not be too bad. But that's probably, I don't know much longer that's going to be though. Um, but anyway, this thing was the most beautiful holy white I ever seen in my life, Miguel. It glowed holy. It was so beautiful. I'd never seen hair that magnificent and that beautiful. And I kept thinking I was seeing things, and I kept rubbing my eyes, and I thought, man, I'm hallucinating. There is no way on God's green earth that I am seeing what I'm sitting here looking at. There's just no way. I'm hallucinating. That's just all there is to it. I've lost my mind. I have completely lost my dadgum mind. And so, um, anyway, I thought, well, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. Well, no, actually, let's see. I shot a deer. I shot a deer. Yeah. After I seen it, let's see. I'm trying to put this here in order. Let's see.
Take your time.
Let's see. I'm trying to put it in order. Okay, I think he's sitting over there, kicked back on this log with a big limb on it, leaned back on it with its feet on the ground and its back leaned up against this branch coming off the log, taking it easy in the sunshine, man, and having himself a good day. Okay, I shoot a deer. I had to shoot the deer right after I seen him because um I left the deer and I was mentally telling it, okay, if you're there and you want this deer, you can have it. If you need this deer, you want it, you can have it. And I'm going to walk over the ridge here, and I'm going to shoot me another one. I usually try to film my tags in one day and get her done all at one time and then take them to the packaging plant and be done with it. Because I don't clean my own anymore. I used to, but I just, it's just too much to do with anymore, with raising kids and all that, But anyways, except for the jerky, of course. We got to make jerky. I'm sure you make your own jerky too, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, that's what I'm mentally trying to tell this thing. If he's there, that's what I'm thinking, And I thought, okay, so going over. And it's starting to get dark. So I come back. I didn't see no more deer. So I went ahead and come back. And I hadn't gutted this deer yet because I wasn't planning on being gone that long. I wasn't gone but maybe 30, 40 minutes. It wasn't that long because I never leave my deer, ungutted. And but I did cut its throat. Yeah, I did cut its throat, but I just didn't gut it yet. And so anyway, I didn't hear a sound again, not one single sound did I hear. And it was close enough to me, I should have heard it. I should have heard every step it took from that log to that deer. I should have heard every step it made from the log to the deer. Because I can hear it through the woods for a long, long ways. I can hear all the way from where I go hunting, several miles back in the woods. I can hear people talking in my backyard. So you can hear everything where I'm at. The way everything's laid out there, it's just real good hearing. And anyways, I come back, the deer's gone. The thing is gone and the deer's gone. And there's no drag trail. There's no traces of blood anywhere. I can't find any trace of anything anywhere of where that deer went. And I'm thinking it had to just picked it up and walked off with it. I mean, there's nothing. There was absolutely nothing on the ground. It was like he just vanished in the thin air. And I had left it laying right there under that old tree right there. I mean, I know my back of my property is like the back of my hand in the dark, and I know where I left my deer. And but anyway, it was gone. And so I thought, okay, I did see it. I did see that. Because there ain't been nobody, no neighbors or anything around, or nobody else. And so when I get back to where I was, not the deer, but where I shot the deer from, and where I saw him sitting, I sit back down the same spot. And all of a sudden, I see the neighbor's great big dog. It was a great big Saint Bernard come trailing and tracking something through the woods. Well, it's coming down this trail, and then it comes straight across the creek, and it comes out into my field, and it comes straight to this log this thing was sitting on, and it starts smelling all over this log where this thing was sitting. And I said, yes, I did see that thing, because if I hadn't have seen it, that dog wouldn't have smelt his way to it, right? And besides that, it took my deer. I know I seen it. I just, was trying to convince myself, I couldn't be seeing it, I guess, but I did. It was there. It was beautiful, though. It really was, Miguel. It was beautiful. And I had never heard of a white Sasquatch before. And not like that. I figured there's all up in the north, like where it's really cold or something. But this thing must have been, man, it must have been an elder. It must have been man. It was beautiful. My gosh.
How long was the hair? Was it pretty long?
Yeah, it was. It was actually pretty long in this thing. It was just flowing. It was just like flowing corn stick, which is beautiful.
Yeah.
It just like it was just beautiful. It was beautiful. I mean, it was like it had a glowing haze around it. It was so beautiful and glowing. It was so the way the sun was hitting it, and maybe that's why it was like that. It was the sun. I mean, it could have been the one up there at the pond, that I told you was scary looking in the face, but it could have been the same one. But the sun hitting it dead on like that might have made it put off a completely different color or something. I don't know. But no, the hair was different. No, that couldn't be because the hair was different. The hair on this one was straighter and more flowing. And the hair on that one up there that I seen the pond reflection was curlier. It was like it was curlier. It was weirder. It was more coarse looking. You know what I mean? It was more coarse looking, like it was more human like actually. If it was more of a man, it'd be like uh, you know, more I've seen some pretty hairy men before. Uh I don't know. But yeah, it was real coarse looking. And the hair wasn't as long. But that one on that field down there, it was just like it was so clean looking. It was so clean and so holy looking. I'm telling you, it really was just beautiful. But you know what that thing done? Here we go again. Everything's gonna taunt me. I'm telling you, everything's just gonna taunt me, Miguel. I'm telling you, it does. Okay, I figure since I gave it this deer, right? No problem. I just made my way on home. And so I'm not really concerned about it getting dark on me. Before I get to the house, I'm not really concerned about it getting dark on me because I can see all the way in the dark, you know, till I get to the house. Even though it's on the other side of the pond, down below the pond bank, and a little ways on down a ways. And I figured, no problem. No, it starts following me. This thing starts following me. That's the only time I ever did hear it. I didn't hear it when it went and got the deer, but I heard it when it started following me to the house. And I didn't hear it right off the bat, but it didn't take me very long to hear it. I I just got started good, and I thought I heard it behind me, and I would turn around and I'd see a little bit of flash of white, and I think, oh, it's probably a deer running to the woods. And it didn't really sound like a deer, but I'm sure that's what it was. This is the thing that's been out of my mind, and I'm just taking these heading on to the house, and so I get a little further, and the sound's getting louder and heavier, and I know it ain't no deer. I know it's that thing coming behind me, and I turn around real fast, and all I can do is see that flash of glowing white hair jump behind a tree. You know what I'm saying? And this just keeps happening from tree to tree. And I start picking up my pace, and I start getting a little faster, and I start getting a little faster. And by the time I get to the uh, this side, by the time I get to the pond bank, between me and the pond, between my house and the pond, time I get to that side of the pond bank, I'm completely out of breath. I've done started running for my life by this point, and when I get to the pond bank between the pond and the trailer, I roll underneath the fence with my gun, and there's no getting up. I'm basically just paralyzed. I am so exhausted. I'm just paralyzed, and I just can't stand and take another step. But I crawl as fast as I can crawl, holding my gun in one hand and two legs and my arm, going as fast as I can on just three limbs. And then I get about three-fourths of the way to the trailer, and I finally get the strength to stand up and start running again. But and I finally made it into the trailer. And time I get in there, and I think somebody asked me, "You okay? What's the matter with you?" I'm like, "Oh, something just tried to get me, is all." But everybody's so used to everything going on around there, everybody just ignores it and go on because it's just part of life around there. You know what I'm saying? Because there's always something like this going on down there. I mean, it's just my cousin come down. He about shot his foot off because one of them got behind him and growled. I didn't tell him what it was. I didn't know what it was, but it scared that poor boy so bad. He was in his middle 20s to 30, but anyways, he blowed a hole in his shoe and about blows his big toe off. He just said he had my gun too. That's what upset me because he had my gun. I was letting him use my gun, and he forgot to put the safety back on before he got up and started running. But he was so scared he forgot to put the safety on before he got up and took off running. But I guess I would have too in his shoes. But um, and I probably wouldn't have took the safety off if there was something like that behind me growling. But he was scared that poor boy bad. He never come down and went hunting no more. I can honestly say that. He never went hunting in my woods again. But matter of fact, now that I think about it, not too many people really have. I used to herd people deer. I'd go tracking and I would run people deer. I'd put them in a position to get to because ever since that incident with that thing trying to get me in the trailer, I don't know if I don't think I've been hunting since then. Uh, I'm trying to remember. Last time I went hunting, I killed a 13 pointer. And I got that on Facebook. So whatever year that is on Facebook is the last time I've been on Facebook. Um, Round about, I just don't get on social media. So that was, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5, maybe 5 or see, I've been here 2 years, maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I can't remember. I can't remember. But I haven't been hunting since I had that bad incident when something tried to get in the trailer. It was horrible, Miguel. It scared me so bad. Um, it was terrible. It, uh, I told you something been messing around, and uh, I don't know if I told you. I don't think I told you this one yet. But anyway, uh, I told you about Pup, Danny's son. Uh, didn't I?
What is it?
She had a son, and Danny had died. And anyway, I had
Mhm.
Pup. Anyway, I put him on a steel cable that went all the way across the backyard. Because I was wanting him to keep an eye, on my feed barrels and stuff. And anyway, I should have known better. I should have known better, but I never had one mean. They messed with me. They played games with me. I've had one play a game with a turtle with me uh, for half a day one day with that dumb turtle. They kept putting it in my doorway. And, so I never was really afraid until this last thing come. And, uh, man, it scared me bad. It walked in across Pup's path, and when it did, Pup lit into it because it was headed toward a trailer to terrorize me again. It would shake one end of the trailer and then go and shake the other end of the trailer. And one night, me and my daughter met right in the middle of the trailer, and she's crying. And I'm like, I know, I know. Just stayed on the couch. I got my gun, and I stayed up the rest of the night. But this thing was mean, and the others weren't like that. But this thing that came was mean. It was something different. And anyway, him and Pup lit into it, and this thing, I was sitting on the couch in the living room, about half asleep, but not quite yet. And I had a little chihuahua in my lap, and when Pup lit into it, this thing let out a beller and a scream and a holler with so much anger because it was fighting with Pup because Pup had bit it. And it was so mad and angry when it mellered and hollered. Man, I about lost my heart right there on the spot. I lost my heart. Um, it didn't take long to get me wide awake. I was shaking, but I sat right there and I kept waiting to see what was going to happen next. Uh, I knew it wasn't no bear that done this. I knew it wasn't no bear. They could have heard that thing all the way in Wildblower Wheatland. That thing was so unbelievable. I had never in my life heard anything that could scream with such anger and ferocity. It's the first time I'd ever heard anything like that in my whole life. But yeah, this thing, then Puff's on the cable, right? So this thing's angry and it's really mad and it's coming my way. And I hear it coming. I hear this thing hitting the ground with each step it takes. I hear it running, and I hear its weight hitting the ground. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And I never thought it would try to get in. I never thought that. And after hearing this thing screaming, bellowing, it tries to come through my front door. No, man, it was scary. And so anyway, it it comes around the end of the trailer, and I hear it when it lands on the front porch. Just before I got it covered yet with uh before I'd done any more construction. It was just flat with nothing on it, the front porch was. And so when it hit that front porch, the whole place shook, man. The whole place shook. And I ain't got time to get up. I ain't had time to get up yet. It's all happening so fast, and I'm trying to think and calculate everything in my mind, and I ain't had time to get up. And so, anyway, uh, it gets to my front door, and everything gets quiet all of a sudden. And all of a sudden, the knob stuff starts turning and twisting and turning. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, here it comes. I don't have time to get my gun because I have one of those big leather sectional couches, and I don't have time to get around that couch or get over it to get to my bedroom door to grab my 35. And so I'm thinking, what do I do? Thanks, Sandy. Thanks, Sandy. And that knob's turning and it's turning. And I know this big giant thing that just screamed and bellowed outside my glass window is fixing to flatten that front door and come right on through. And all of a sudden I jumped up, me and my little chihuahua in my lap. I jumped up and I hit that front door, and I just started beating that front door as hard as I could, screaming at it, I'll kill you, I'll kill you, I'll kill you. And I just started beating it as hard as I could, trying to distract it, trying to give myself just 1 minute to get about 10 more feet to get to my gun, And my dog, my wolf dog, Danny's son, hears me screaming bloody murder. And he breaks that steel cable he's on. When he hears me screaming, he breaks that steel cable, and I hear him coming, dragging his chain. But yeah, anyway, Pup hears me screaming, so he's running and coming to save my life, and I hear him dragging that chain, and then I'm still, I'm still beating that door, and just trying to buy myself a second or two. And that thing here's Pup coming too. That thing here's Pup coming too. And he takes one leap from in front of my door, and he hits the ground. And when he hits that ground, it's like thunder of an elephant. It's like an elephant just dropped out of the sky and hit the ground. I mean, I could feel that whole trailer shake from that thing jumping off that porch, hitting that ground. And that whole thing, everything just shook. And it took off running as fast as it could go, and I could hear old Pup on his tail dragging that chain. And I'm thinking, oh, Pup, come back, come back. It's going to kill you. Man, you got a chain on you, come back, Pup. And anyway, I get my gun, and I'm awake the rest of the night. And little Lily, my little chihuahua, she's at the bottom of the door. She's at the bottom of the door barking with everything she's got in her, because she knows, man, she wouldn't fight a river to save me and go with me. We're going to swim, and she jumped right in the middle of the currents if I was out there. But she was right there by my side to help me. But Pup was coming to my rescue, and he saved me that night. He saved me. He saved my life. And but a month later, he disappeared. And I know that mean thing come back and got him. That's the one that had 3 toes on it. And that's the one that DA told me that he thought was possibly a Gugway, the main one, because he'd been the one that had been terrorizing me, the one with 3 toes. Shaking on my trailer on a different night than that, and stuff, just messing with me,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that thing that came was different. Any other thing had ever been there, Miguel, that was different. It wasn't the same.
Well, I'm sorry to hear about your dog, and yeah, very well possibly could have been that creature that made your dog go missing, because I had the same thing happen here with 2 German Shepherds.
Oh man, both of them?
Yeah, one right after another, and it happened after I had one of my sightings, or actually I had 2 sightings around that time.
Mm.
Yeah, I can't prove it, but I mean, there was Sasquatch on the property, the dogs went missing, and they were barking a lot, so that's the only conclusion that I could come up with. I mean, because, I don't know, it doesn't make sense.
Well, I'm sorry to hear that. Man, those are nice dogs too, man.
Hmm.
Especially when you love them.
Yeah.
Man, I bet they did because they just don't like them dogs because they give them away, you know. But was that one that you had? Was he mean?
The dog.
No, the Sasquatch.
They didn't seem mean towards me, but the dogs didn't like them. I mean, I've been growled at, screamed at, and stuff like that. Had trees get pushed over, but I've never had like one come after me.
Yeah, you know, I don't, I never, I don't ever remember being screamed at. You know, I don't remember ever being screamed at. If I did, I sure didn't know it. Like I said, I was real naive. But
Yeah,
hmm,
some of them would knock, some of them don't. Some of them scream, some of them not so much. And I mean, each clan is different and they vary from each area, but overall, they do the general same activity from all over the world.
yeah. Do you? I don't go out in the woods no more without a weapon on me. Never. I used to all the time, but I don't no more. Not after that last experience. I thought, well, not when I realized there was such a mean one out there. But I don't know.
Yeah, the more
I've seen
stories I
another thing.
take, the more I bring out my firearm.
The more you what, the more you bring out your firearm.
Yeah, like the more negative encounters that I hear from people around the globe, the more I'm starting to bring out my pistol and make sure I have it on me. Just because whenever I had my encounters, like I said, they never came after me, and I was trying to get them to come close, so I wouldn't always bring a
Yeah,
firearm. But I do keep in mind that there are other things out there and different types of Sasquatch.
there are. There are. I sure learned that. I tell you one thing, I will never sleep in a tent again. Never. Never. I won't never sleep in a tent again. I'll sleep in a camper or a vehicle. I ain't never sleeping in a tent ever again.
Yeah, I
I
don't blame
used
you.
to all the time, but I won't. I'll never do it again. No, it's just not worth it.
So
But
after this experience where the creature came and was walking around the porch, and after your dog went missing, what else happened? Is that a bulk of everything that happened on the property, or is there more to it?
no, no. Like once, I called my friend over. Uh, uh, it used to be, well, I was the person I was with for about 30 years, but we broke up, and but we stayed best friends. And he only lived a couple of miles away. The crow flew away from him, so he's always coming over every day, anyways, to visit and stuff. But one night, and I always, you know, had my curtains open and stuff, you know, and I never paid much attention, didn't care really, and I was in the living room doing something, and I got this feeling of being watched, and man, uh, I turned around, and I had the back porch light on, and it was had everything lit up real good out back, and there's a tree right there beside the porch, and it was all lit up, and all beside that tree, right there beside that tree, there was this creature thing. I don't know what it was. It wasn't a Bigfoot. I don't know what it was, and it wasn't a panther. I have lots of panthers there, and I even watched the mama raise three babies on my island, and I got all that on film. I'll show you that even. She'd bring them up every night to feed bugs off the dust all night. Three of them, three little ones, and anyway, it wasn't a panther, so nobody could tell me it was a panther because I know what they look like up close. This is around my trailer every night, and but this thing, Miguel. It had glowing yellow eyes. I never see anything with red eyes except out in the field. Now I have seen glowing red eyes out in the field about that old 1800 cemetery by my driveway. Um, Numerous occasions I've seen glowing red eyes up there, and I always assumed it was somebody with infrared or something. But again, I was naive about the Bigfoot and things. So you know, I don't know what it was. I don't know for sure. Um, and I've had this thing was there on the back. It was right there. It was really tall, unless it was. holding on to the tree, but it didn't look like it was in a strain or nothing. It looked like it was just right there, leaned up against it, and it was solid black with glowing yellow eyes, but it wasn't a panther. And it wasn't a Bigfoot, and I don't know what it was, but it scared me so bad. I called my friend, crying, begging him. I thought Satan himself was after me, and I was on my way to hell. I literally thought Satan was after me that night. It was so horrifying and hideous and frightening and scary. And it was probably the thing that started tormenting me. I don't know for sure. Uh, I don't know for sure, because it wasn't that far apart from each other, but I called my friend up and I begged him. I said, you either come and get me, or you come and stay with me. I said, but do not get out of your vehicle until you see me in the doorway with the gun. Do not get out of your car. And you know what he does? Pulls up, and I don't know he's out there yet. Gets out of the car, walks over there in the dark, to the front door. And I'm like, what's the matter with you? Didn't I just tell you Satan was outside of my door after everything I've been through here? But he's like, oh, well, I guess he figured if he got God, he got God. But he just didn't see what I saw, or he wouldn't have done what he did. You know what I'm saying? But I literally cried that night because it scared me so bad. It scared me so bad. Yeah, that probably terrified me more than the thing trying to get in. And listen, it was the same thing, because I actually saw it face to face, looking right at it, and got a real good look at its face. And it was frightening. It was frightening. It was scary.
The creature with the glowing eyes, you got a good look at it?
Yeah.
And you're for sure it wasn't like a Sasquatch on all fours, like hunkered down low?
No.
Okay.
No, because it was up high. It was really tall, because see, my back porch is about 4 foot off the ground, and its head was just a little bit above the railing that went around it. I had at the time. And what's the average railing height of, a porch? Probably 3.5 feet.
Yeah.
And its head was just a little bit above that railing. And it didn't look like he was in a strain. So it looked like he was leaned against the tree, because the light was hitting it dead on, dead on. And I've seen a lot of panthers, and it wasn't a panther neither, because its snout was different. I don't know what it was. I've never seen nothing look like it before. I thought it's Satan. I honestly thought it was Satan coming to get me, because at that time, I had an overrun of rattlesnakes. Sometimes they'd get bad there, but this particular time was the only time they ever got this bad. And I think because there's been so much logging going on, and the farmers saw them in the fields or something, or else Satan really was after me. But they'd be all over my front porch and my back porch. I even got them on film climbing through I didn't know rattlesnakes climbed until this time. I even got it on film. My granddaughter saw it. I was filming a bear down at the pond, and my granddaughter goes, "Look, Grandma, there's a rattlesnake climbing to the fence." And I couldn't believe it. Everybody my whole life told me rattlesnakes didn't climb, but they climb. Rattlesnakes climb, and I have seen them hanging in the bottom limbs of trees out in the woods. Hickory is overrun with rattlesnakes. And I wrote Tom Connor and explained the situation with the rattlesnakes that I had, how bad they was. And he told me, he said, if you see more than 1 or 2 rattlesnakes from your property, he said, you got an infestation. And I told him how bad they was. And he told me I need to get some professionals out there and get something done. And I'm like, man, ain't nothing's going to get rid of these rattlesnakes. Nothing's going to get rid of these rattlesnakes. Nothing is. The smallest one I killed had 15 rattles on it. I had a jar of rattlers all the way up to 18 rattlers. And I don't even remember the length. And I gave that jar of rattlers away because I felt like maybe they were bringing me bad karma, because the snakes just kept getting worse. So I gave them away and wished my friend good luck with them, because they wanted them. I said, you take them. Just don't bring them back. Just don't bring them back. And I just kind of made a deal with them snakes. I said, listen here, you just go on back out in the woods. If you leave me and my family alone, I'll stop killing you guys. I'm thinking this, trying to give myself some own self satisfaction that maybe this could actually happen. Knowing better, but, you know, uh, anyway, I put down a bunch of lime that always helps, and I put it around the foundation and everything. And I finally got rid of them, but it took, a little bit. But you know what come after the rattlesnakes did?
What's that?
The panthers. They love rattlesnakes, their favorite meal.
Yeah.
I mean, they love them. They absolutely love them. And you would have been amazed to watch that family gather on the island. You would have been amazed. When family come, they couldn't believe it. At night, I'd take them to the end window at the trailer on the north side where the dust dome light was. And at night, the mama would jump up there on that old chicken house and then jump up there in that tree trying to get that coon or possum, whatever it was up there. It was always, I don't know, it was always outrunning her. So I don't know how it's getting away. But anyway, she was always up there in that tree, and she had 3 little ones. And they was always on the ground below her. And those big old beetles, those great big old stinking big fat black beetles that come a certain time of year and get all over the ground and smell real bad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
It was during that exact time, and they were all over the ground. She'd bring them up there at night and let them babies feed on them. And then when they got so big, about twice, I don't know, they about little less than half grown. When they got about, I don't know, 2-3 times the size of a cat, she finally left with them. But I was filming them one day on the island, and I said, "Oh, Kendra, look!" Talking to my granddaughter, I said, "They're so cute." And Kendra's going, "Oh, those are so cute." And I started enlarging the footage, to bring it a little more clear. And I shouldn't have done that, because Kendra started getting. See, it was a baby deer. The mama had taken a baby deer out there to the island for them to feed on, and they were tearing that little baby deer apart. And my granddaughter was real young, and she had to witness that. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'm still a little bit young to be watching that. But anyway, it was quite the experience. And then we didn't used to have bear up there. We finally started getting bear, but I heard the conservation brought them in or something many years prior. But a purplish color, cinnamon color, and then a dark brown one. I only seen 2 different ones, and both of them had a baby, a cub. But and I hadn't seen them for a long time. Heck, the Sasquatch probably had them. It probably got them. I mean, I wouldn't be, but that's pretty good size. But you never know. I really hadn't seen no sign of them now that I think about it. But I've been gone for a year and a half or so, but I still want to go down there. I ain't seen no sign of them. And I've seen mountain lion. I've seen mountain lion running the fence line, and I've seen mountain lion chasing deer across the other side of the pond where I told you Sasquatch was. I've seen them chasing does down through there, and the doe come back and pick up her babies. She circles around with them. And I've seen my mama was there before she passed away a couple of years ago. My mom was down there, and my nephew. And my nephew's like, "Sandy, that's a mighty big cat down there in your pond." I said, "Oh, don't worry about that. That's just my cat, Simon. He's a great big yellow cat." And he's like, "Sandy, I don't think that's a cat, a yellow house cat." I said, "Sure it is." And I actually took time to look, and I said, "Oh, holy cow, it's not my house cat, it's a mountain lion." And it was a young mountain lion. They get real brave when they're young like that. They get real brave and come right up on you. And I always worried about the kids, because there's quite a few in that county. And so I took my mom down there. It left. It finally left and went down the hill, but I knew it'd be coming back. I knew that cat was going to come back. And so anyway, I took my mom down there by the gate, going down into the pond area down there. And we're standing there by the gate. And here it comes. And anyway, my mom's like, "Sandy, I'm scared. I'm scared. I want to go back up to the house." And I'm like, It was a younger one though. It wouldn't have tried anything. I just started shaking the gate and it took off back down the hill. But it took off chasing something down the hill. I don't remember what it was. But I knew it was going to come back. I got to where I could learn them critters pretty good around there. You know what this is going to do or not do? Because every day I had a full scene right out my kitchen window and at the pond. And that's why I set it up that way. So all day long, I could watch the great blue heron landing on the pond, or the deer, or the big cats, or, whatever decided to come through. Whatever decided to come through, they always come to my pond to drink, you know. So I got to see a lot there, and I miss it, But
Well, hopefully
I'll
you can
go
get back
back.
out there soon.
I will. I'll get back, As soon as winter's over, I'll be back. That's for sure. And I
Yeah.
think I'm gonna go deer hunting this year. I hadn't been for a while, but that thing I told you tried to get in, that kind of put the fear in me for a little bit. So I guess I had to really get over that,
Hmm.
Um, forget the traumatizing experience of it, after it happened. But yeah, I've
Yeah.
had weird things happen here, man. Some I was out on the front out here, and they go, I can't figure this out. I don't know what, but I had my back against the to the see it would be the east, west. I had my back to the north. My direction's not very good. I had my back to the north, and I was facing the south, and it was dark outside. And Miguel, I heard something coming at me full force. It sounded like, I don't know what, it sounded like a mountain lion running, but it was heavier than a mountain lion, much, much heavier, and much, much faster than any mountain lion I ever seen or heard. I didn't even hear it or see it. I didn't even hear it until it got between the two cars, until it got about um probably the distance of 2 car lengths away, wherever far that is, the distance of 2 car lengths away from me. It was in between the two cars when I heard it, and it's like it sounded like wings. I never heard nothing running at me until it was at that distance from me. And I didn't have time to turn around and look because I knew whatever it was bad and it had me. And so thank goodness I had my screen door propped open with that hook. And I didn't even take time to turn around and look because I knew I didn't have time. It was moving on me so fast. And I kept hearing this wing sound. And I knew owls didn't make that kind of sound. I knew owls didn't run on 2 legs either. Uh, Actually, I'm not sure if it had 2 legs or if it had 4 legs because it was moving so fast. So I'm not real sure if it had 4 legs or 2 legs. It sounded like it was the galloping faster than any horse I've ever heard in my life. And it sounded like it had wings on it, but it wasn't no horse. And it
Yeah.
sounded like its
That's
feet were
freaky.
soft. It scared me, Miguel, so bad that I am scared to death. It actually might have even scared me worse because it almost had me. I went through the door sideways and fell inward and onto the floor, kicking the door shut. It almost got me. And the night before that, let me tell you this. This is wiki. This is wiki. The night before that, um, out back here, I got like country out back, even though I'm in the city. It's like trees and woods behind me right here. And it keeps on going into the country. So all kinds of things. There's a black panther that comes through here. And it wasn't even that Black Panther. People thought I was crazy when I told them I saw a Black Panther here until they showed it in the Nixon newspaper about 3 or 4 weeks later. Then everybody believed me once it was in the paper. And I'm like, sure. And so I thought, and then me and my uncle see it here near occasionally. It comes through here. It's got a little path back here. Comes out of them woods back here. And which is nothing. Been more, a lot more common people realize. But anyway, uh, there was something laying out there in the grass, and it was pulling itself. It didn't have no clothes on, and it was like it had elbows. It was very hideous looking in the face, and it had the bottom part of its face come forward, like almost as if it had a snout, but I couldn't really tell. And I took a picture of it. I took a picture of it, enlarged it, and got what I could get out of it, and could tell. And it was on its elbows, pulling itself across the grass. And me and my uncle went out there the next morning, and to look and see, and we could see where it was all over the ground out there. And then the following night, obvious son of a gun, I was sitting on the front. It's like things follow me wherever I go. I was sitting out front, and across from my uncle's van, there's this big old oak tree. And on the ground out there, that thing that was in the back was out here in the front. And there wasn't no clothes on it. I don't know if it was a man out of his mind or some kind of evil person trying to transform it into something horrid, or I don't know. But the next day, my neighbor beside me, she's got a camera. She started moving out. The man across from me has got a camera, and he started moving out. They're both gone now. And everybody that moves in here has moved out in the past 5 or 6 months. They're not even here a month or two, and they leave. I don't. It's horrible. The apartments are nice. It's not that. There's something else wicked going on. And then it was the third night that something almost got me out there. I didn't. The kids know how bad it affected me because they'd never seen me act like this, and I'm just got to be extra careful now. But Miguel, is there anything you can think of that is like that? That can come on you that fast like that? Other than
some type of cryptid or something paranormal, I would say.
I've never had an experience. I've never had anything be able to get on me like that fast, like that, without me hearing it. And it sounded like a horse galloping with soft feet. Like a panther you'd think would sound, or a mountain lion or something like that would sound.
Yeah.
But
it sounded like something off of Jeepers Creepers, an old movie that was about like this winged creature that would come out every 1,000 years or something. But that's what I thought of whenever you were telling me about that, and that is creepy. I mean, I can't think of what it is, but I've heard stories like Goat Man, things like that. Do you think it was something unusual like that?
It was something weird, something I've never experienced before.
Mm.
I've never experienced something with that kind of speed, with that sound, with the galloping and a wing sound together. Maybe the sound was coming out of its mouth. Maybe it was making the sound with its mouth, and it sounded like wings. And I thought, maybe I heard an owl fly over, but owls don't make sounds, So me and my uncle have racked our brains, and he's a pretty common sense guy, and he don't like it here either. And he's seen things here too, and he knows I saw what I told him I saw, and he went out and looked for himself on the ground, its tracks and stuff, and where it wallered the grass did, where I told him it was wallering. But Miguel, it was pulling itself with it's on its elbows, and this thing didn't have no clothes or nothing on. And it was real shiny looking, and it was real hideous looking in the face. I can't describe it. It just looked like it was hideous. I can send you the images I took, and you can see what you can make out of them. But you're going to think the same thing I did. It's hideous. I don't know if it's some kind of a man without clothes on, turning into something evil out there, or is lost his mind or something, or on some kind of drugs, or I don't know, Miguel, but it's frightening. I got to get back to the country. It's scared me living in this city. I'm telling you, this kind of stuff I got to put up with. I'd rather go home and take my chances. But I can't think of anything. I started texting DA a message to see if he might know of something in this area, because me and him both from, close to that area down there. He grew up in Lebanon, and I'm not far from there. And I was going to buy some property in Lebanon until I read DA's book and heard his story. And I asked him, I said, are these true stories, DA? He said, yeah, I base all my stuff on true stories. And I said, okay, that's all I need to know. I'm not buying no property in Lebanon or anywhere around Kensington or along the Niangua. I was going to try to get some property along the Niangua. And I was like, yeah, not now. I'm not dealing. I'll deal with the Bigfoot, but I'm not going to deal with no dog man if I don't have to.
Yeah, I don't blame
Uh,
you.
that's scary, man. That's
Yeah.
scary. I don't know. Do you sleep in a tent out in the woods?
Yeah, that or a hammock. But I mean,
Oh my gosh.
yeah, it does freak me out. I mean, I'm not really even a researcher. People call me that, but I'm just an outdoorsman. And I try to gather some evidence. I mean, I guess that classifies as a researcher, but when I think
Yeah.
of researcher, I think of like a scientist that, or multiple scientists that have like a lab, they're going out doing experiments and they get paid to do that. But me, I'm
No,
just an
what
average
you're
guy.
doing. No, you're not an average guy. So what you're doing is more important than the guy in the lab. You're the one taking the chances. You're the one out there in the field getting the info firsthand, you know, taking chances. Not
Yeah.
the guy in the lab, you know.
Yeah.
And so,
I need to find a good
yeah,
area to do research. I mean, I had these encounters here, but things have kind of tapered off. And a lot of guests that have contacted me had their experiences in the past. But I don't know, maybe if we can meet up one day, you can show me around where you had some of these encounters and maybe we can see if we can
yeah.
find something.
Yeah, when I go back down there, like I said, I may go hunting this year. I'm not sure if I'm going yet or not, but depends on. I got to go down in a few days and check my mail and stuff. But when I go down there, I'll look around. But like, I don't know if I told you. I think I might have mentioned it, but when I went down there and spent the night a few weeks ago or so, when I woke up the next morning to drive on that dirt road, and the whole side of my car was covered in dirt. Um, Oh my gosh, when I woke up the next morning, Miguel, there was these big old handprints all over my car and big old claw marks at the end of the fingers. And the fingers was really far apart from each other. It was an enormous hand. And I had taken these things and hung over the front windshield and the sides and everything so nothing could see in. Because my daughter's been camping down there. And I went down there to spend the night with her and I kept telling her, Nikki, you uh better keep them doors locked. Every time I'd give her a gun, she'd let it get stolen or lose the darn thing or something. So I decided I wasn't going to give her another gun. She better learn to use a knife. But you run out of guns eventually, you know. But she really didn't need one anyways. But um, you know, I don't know. But I just kept telling her, you know, you might have to edit some of this out. I keep forgetting. Uh, it's for your channel. I keep forgetting. I keep rambling on with things. So please overlook me there. Uh,
No, you're fine.
but but you might want to do some major editing, like things like that. I say, but but anyway, yeah. After I went down there and spent the night, though, I tell you what, uh, I think it kicked into her because she was sort of remembering the past, you know, about different things that happened there, and I think she started remembering because she didn't want to accept those handprints all over my car like they were. And I told her, I said, Nikki, you cannot deny what's in front of you. Look at that. I said, that's not a dog. I said, that is a big handprint with claw marks on it. Look at that. They were enormous. That wasn't no regular man's hand. And uh, that night, I had to leave later that evening. And I was scared to death to leave there. I was horrified, you know. So she said she was going to be fine, but before it got dark, she started having a panic attack and she wasn't able to stay there. And she ended up having to call a paramedic, you know, to come and get her because of her anxiety. And I think she started remembering all this stuff we've been through there, you know. And after seeing those handprints all over my vehicle, I think it finally hit her. And she realized, yeah, this is what I've been taking a chance with. And I kept begging her, please be careful down there. She wouldn't listen to me, you know. And it's like as soon as I get down there and spend the night, it's like they know I'm there. I tell you something else too. See, you're gonna think I'm crazy. I'm telling you so much crap, but I've been there for so long, um, and I've been basically a hermit most of the time I've been there. Uh, I'm not a socialite, and I don't go places hardly, or do things, and I just spend my time, you know, just there on the farm and out in the woods and researching like you do. But me with with fossils and studying geology and artifacts, and went to college for it, and stuff. And I broke my back, and I wound up having to quit. And so, anyway, long story short, I had my own thing to do and my own research there, for me, that kept me occupied, along with hunting and all that kind of stuff, and animals and this and that. But anyway, the normal person couldn't be there all the time and live on the place for a year and not go anywhere like I can. So everybody kind of called me a hermit, even though I really wasn't. When I was ready to get out and socialize, I was ready to get out and socialize, And I was always doing something, I was always doing something, working. I was always working or doing something worthy of my time, I wasn't just wasting my time. But yeah, she's not there now though. Thank goodness. Thank goodness. She's living with a friend of hers now, so I don't have to worry night and day about her being there. But yeah, that scared me. It's like they knew I was back or something. And I'll tell you another thing. You probably aren't going to believe this, but I might ought to wait till just another day to tell you the rest of it. But you want me to finish telling you about those really fast about the aerial crafts?
Mm-hmm.
When at certain times, I can see them. We've all watched them in my family. This is why I'm telling you there's a lot more involved than what anybody could ever imagine or know, because you can see they go in pairs. Them, us, them, us, them, us. It is like a train going across the sky from the north to the east. Miguel, there's so many things. It's just unbelievable. There's something major going on down there. There really is. You might want to edit some of that out too. I'm telling you the truth. For right now, you might want to edit some of that out. Because there's something really serious going on down there. And the weird thing is that everybody that used to live on my dirt road, whenever I moved there and stuff, when all this stuff was really, really hot and heavy, everybody was retired Air Force. It's like, boy, that is really convenient. We've seen them land in there on the other side of their houses, in their fields, in all of them. You tell me they wasn't going to get something to look the other way? You know what I'm saying? Isn't that weird?
Yeah, that is strange. Maybe they worked in these underground bases or had communication with these crafts, and they still do today, even though they're retired. Retired just means they're not on file anymore, not on record.
Yeah. Most of them are dead now. They've passed away in the past 5 to 10 years. You mean the people that are retired? Is that what you said?
The Air Force people, yeah, because
Yeah.
I don't know. It just sounds strange if the crafts are landing in their fields. It sounds like they're still employed, but they're retired, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's the way it's been for a long time. And it's like, they just turn the other cheek. And that's why none of them will talk about nothing. None of them will talk about anything because of that. And now their kids live there. So it just kind of goes right on down the line. But see, there was a big controversy at school. The kids talking with the teachers and stuff, because see, all the missile sites were supposed to be deactivated. But if you pull up to one of the gates or one of the steel fences around it, you'll be met with heavy force. And a friend of mine, and so everybody asks the question, if they're deactivated, then why are we met with such force? And a friend of mine's husband he went around, was supposed to be deactivating them, but she told me She didn't believe that was happening, and they follow after he died of cancer from radiation poisoning from being around these missiles. And anyway, they followed her for weeks, and after he died, they tore her house all to pieces. They obliterated her house looking for information, but I don't think they did. And then they've got that see that's between see that area is between Fort Leonard Wood and Whiteman Air Force Base. It's right in the middle. It's right dab smack in the middle. And it's right dab smack in the middle of the lakes and the dams. And then you got that big underground facility base up inside the mountain. It's over at Nevada. Is it Nevada or El Dorado? You go in for 2 years and you can't come out for 2 years. Yeah, it actually exists there. But different people from being there for 30 years, different people and knowing different people whose family worked there and stuff, But it's real. It's real. It's that place is actually there. But there's so much going on. So I kind of wonder, would if things got real bad, would you be safer there or not safer there? You'd probably be well guarded for one thing, but Lord knows what else you might have to deal with. What if they are using those things for military, like you hear different people talking about? You know what I'm saying? Like they're genetically engineered or something, maybe? I don't know. I don't really know about any of that, but I just know something's going on down there. Something major's going on down there. And the lady that used to live way back behind me, see, she used to get orange lights shining in her bedroom at night too, like me. And she finally couldn't take it no more, and she finally moved away because the sheriff told her there's nothing. What am I supposed to do? There wasn't nothing he could do about it, And her best friend Susan at the time was the one telling me about it. She lived at they run a ranch up there, see, and Susan told me all about it. I asked her one day, "Did y'all see anything weird in the sky?" Just kind of, you know, just kind of testing the water a little bit because I didn't want her to think I was crazy. And she said, "Oh yeah, we do," you know. And she started telling me stories, and she told me about her friend that finally couldn't take it no more. She moved away. And I'll tell you something else that happened to me, Miguel, that really affected me was one night I was having this nightmare because this red lights always used to light up my bedroom at night, and it wasn't a helicopter. It was like the ones I told you about, and they would have they just light up the whole entire room, really bright red. But one night I had this nightmare that I was like being branded, and this is insane. I was like having this nightmare, and I woke up that I was being branded. When I woke up, I sit up in the bed and I felt my shoulder, and I looked over, and it was a big old burn the size of a quarter. It was a hot heat burn. You know, the kind that turned real dark brown and dry.
Mm-hmm.
It was a hot heat burn real deep into my shoulder, the front of my shoulder. And I was like, oh my gosh, it started freaking me out. And I jumped up and I ran to the bathroom to look and see, especially if there's anything that happened to me, you know? And I was at the doctor's office like 2 weeks later, and the doctor was like, Sandy, what happened to your shoulder? I said, Doc, you don't want me to tell you, because if I told you, you would just think that's crazy and you wouldn't believe me. So just you don't want to know. You really don't want to know. He said, yes, Sandy, I do want to know. I said, you sure you want to know? He said, yeah. I said, okay. I said, I was having a nightmare and I was being branded by this cold hot iron. And I woke up and there it was. And he just looked at me and his mouth just kind of fell over. He looked at me. I said, I told you you didn't want to know. And then after that happened, I got this thing under my other arm that looks, it's like a perfect tic tac right under my arm. Doctors don't know what it is, but I'm fixing to go in and get that sucker removed because I don't know. After that happened to me, and then the doctor said this wasn't cancerous because it's not attached. You know, it moves around, and it's not got no bigger. It's not got no smaller, and it's not right. It don't hurt or nothing. And but the doctor said they weren't sure what it was. They just said it wasn't cancerous and it moves around. So I think I need to get it removed myself because it might have something to do with it because that appeared right after I got branded. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that is strange, and you never know if whenever
It's
you got
crazy.
branded, that's when it appeared.
It did. It appeared at the same time I got branded within a few days or so. It was like, I noticed it right off the bat. It's not like something that grew.
Hmm.
It just happened there that same size. You know what I'm saying? And if it was just a natural occurrence, it should have grown. It should have just started growing and gotten bigger. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Yeah.
But Miguel, there is some weird things going on down there, man. I mean, some weird things. Like I was telling you, when I witnessed that near miss collision with the military men, uh, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And there's been, like I told you about that guy in a very high position disappearing. You know, when those sort of people, when people disappear, that are the people that work in that position, that know about those things. But he shouldn't have said anything to anybody. Yeah, but yeah, it's that just kind of scared me from there. So I was always scared to talk about that to anybody. You know, uh, I don't know, but somebody needs to know about this going on. I'm telling you, there's something major going on down there, and it's not just down there. It's not just down there. It's everywhere. It's not just there.
Hmm.
You could just about bank on it. When it was getting close to a full moon, there's going to be action in the sky. You know, I've been gone for a couple of years, and I don't know what's going on down there now. And I asked my daughter, and she said there's still a lot of things going on down here. And I left it at that. You know, because I didn't want to know anymore. But
Do you think
uh,
the Sasquatch activity is tied into the crafts that you've seen up in the sky?
there's a possibility because of these portals I told you that opened up. You know, I mean, not I say they're portals. Gary told me he thought they was portals. Uh, he, uh,
Like when you said everything was in sync and you can hear that low humming sound, like the like was it
uh,
like that?
yeah, it's like a melody. It was actually beautiful. It was like a
Like
beautiful
a
melody.
like a nice tone.
Yeah, it
Okay,
wasn't.
it wasn't
It
low.
was. It was real low.
Okay.
I don't know what vibrational frequency it was
Hmm.
because it can be, like low, but yet be high or whatever, however that works. But it was some sort of frequency um, that made everything sound like it was in perfect tune, like they were all orchestrating the same song.
Hmm.
It was amazing. It was amazing. It was amazing. I just had to sit there and listen. I'm like, Kendra, are you hearing this? It was just like, it was like you could almost see the waves float across the field, you know. Uh, but yeah, I don't know, if uh Miguel, if people or to know my name with all that kind of stuff going on down there, you know, maybe just say my first name. I mean, I don't know, Miguel. I really don't.
Yeah, we'll just
It's
use
not.
your first name, and no one will have to know where you're at or what your last name is, anything like that.
I mean, that'd probably be best. I mean, you can give them the area, you know. Uh, there's lots, like I say, Sandy's down there, so nobody would probably figure it out unless they had, the specific dirt road or whatever,
Yeah.
or a specific name I was living beside. That's what I told you. Mark that one remark about neighbor Joe, all fair because
Hmm.
everybody in the entire country knows who he is, so they know me by that name. No, everything else is just like them messing with me, the footprints around,
Hmm.
like playing that game with the turtle that day, putting it in my doorway, and I'd take it in the yard and bring it back. I'd take it in the yard and bring it back until finally I hid it on the front porch out there up real high. So I knew for a fact could nobody find that thing unless they smelt it out and could climb up high. And you know what? It's back in my doorway. They're smart. I didn't tell you about this game me and my daughter played out back. I forgot about that. I was testing to see their intellectual abilities. Um, gosh, uh, uh, I had taken some yellow and some red apples because I saw some figures out back, and they'd actually got real close to me. But it was dark, but I felt them, and then I could sense them, and I could see an outline. And Uncle Bloss told me he felt them too. And so I had these apples, and I took these apples, yellow and red apples. I kid you not. I took these yellow and red apples, and I went red, yellow, yellow, red, yellow, yellow, red. And I was short one red apple to for the sequence to be right, and I had forgot about it. So the following morning, I was cleaning out the refrigerator, and I threw out a real red peach that had gone bad across the yard, but it wasn't nowhere near the apples. Well, that evening, it took and found that peach, that red peach, and it put it in the proper place it was supposed to be to make the pattern perfect, the way it was supposed to be. Then it took a yellow apple, picked it up, took a bite, didn't take a bite, but took its teeth, put its teeth imprint into the apple, top and bottom, put its imprint in there. It's two fangs on the right side and two fangs on the left side, and flat across the front. And you see the deep fangs on each side, and on the bottom where the incisors went down. And then put it right back in the same exact spot, and put it just so I could see its signature. I'm not kidding you. And I took Addie up there with me, and she saw it. She couldn't believe it. The next night, I threw, by this time I'm telling my granddaughter. So I threw one of the apples away or something, and it put it put it. I'll have to ask my daughter how it went. I wrote it down somewhere. She took a note of it and put it somewhere so we can remember what it was exactly we done. But it took uh, one of the yellow apples had turned real red, and it took it and it moved it. Anyway, it was something like that. I'd have to ask my granddaughter how it was. I'm getting brain dead in my older age. But we want to see how intelligent whatever this was that keeps coming out back was. Because there's all woods back in behind me back in here. You know what I'm saying? And I could have swore I seen it out there. And anyway, in one of the pictures I got, it looks like a mother and a young and knelt down out there where my apples are. And one of them pictures that I took in the dark, I enhanced the image of it. The image, it was real dark, and I used the enhanced method and enhanced it. And there is this big hand with these long fingers just right out there away from me a few feet. Could have grabbed my leg at any time. And its head sticking up there, up over this top railing. You can see its eyes and its head and everything. And its big old hand and half of its nails. I'm not kidding you. There's weird things going on here. I'm telling you, that's why I'm wondering about the different things that might have could have happened to me, how they could have possibly found me, or is it just a coincidence, or are things getting so bad that they're everywhere now?
Yeah. So your uncle said that he feels like they followed him there to that property.
That's what he thinks. He thinks they followed us. And he said he actually felt like we were safer down there than we are here now. That's what he said. He's really very Uncle Bloss. He's 73, and he's real intuitive, and he's pretty wise. And but anyway, he feels things real good, you know what I mean? He's he can know, like, I can't explain it, but anyway, he's real good at knowing
Assessing
people.
things? Oh, okay.
Huh?
No, I was going to say, is he good at assessing things and observing
Yeah, he
detail.
is. Yeah, he is. Um, uh, yeah, he's real good at knowing things that's going to happen, or why it happened. I'm like, he's got good intuition. He's got good discernment and intuition, you know. But uh, but yeah, he's real good at that. And when he feels something and he says something, you better listen and you better take it to the bank because he's always right. He's always right. And but yeah, it scares me sometimes when he tells me stuff because I know he's right. You know, it's like, don't tell me. And if he wakes up and he tells me about a dream or something, he's saying, I'm like, don't tell me. I don't want to hear it unless it's good. Do not tell me. But yeah, he's wanting to go back home too. He's wanting to go back to the farm. He moved out there with me, started helping me because I couldn't take care of the property by myself all the time. And so, and my kids were young. So, but yeah, he moved down to the farm with us and helped me with the kids and helped me take care of the farm. But
Well,
but
I'm glad
yeah,
he was able to move out there and help you out because that would have definitely been
yes,
frightening to be out there by yourself with these things coming up to you like that. And yeah, I'm glad you had your dogs, and I'm sorry that one of them went missing.
yeah, yeah. I feel bad for you too, man. Losing a pet like that you love is awful, especially when they lay their life on the line for you like that. Um, but I lived there most of my whole life myself. Raising my kids by myself and my
Mm.
grandkids by myself. I've had to raise all my grandkids. So I wouldn't trade it for nothing. No, I love them all, but it's sure wearing me out. But I figured them days was over a long time ago. My daughter finally got herself together though, and she's doing good now. So thank goodness, you know.
Yeah, that's good to
But
hear.
it's
Sandra,
it's been a
I really appreciate you for getting in contact with me and sharing all that information. And it was definitely a lot to share. And I was just thinking today, man, there's no one out there who's had as many encounters as me. There's a few people, but it's not very typical. And I'm glad I got to talk to you today because it's another experience where a person had multiple encounters and not just with Sasquatch, but with the paranormal, UFOs, aliens, and the unknown in general. So it's good to hear that there's someone else out there and also from the same state. And
Yeah, I was so glad when I heard you talking. I was like, wow, could that be right? Could that be real? I was so glad when you started talking about your own experiences. That was the only reason I contacted you because of that. And I thought, well, I had to talk to you. It's been amazing talking to you. Of course, I've run my mouth and you ain't said nothing. But
I was listening very intently. Also, whenever you were talking about that Sasquatch with the long white hair, the real white one, there
uh,
is a YouTube channel called My Bigfoot Sighting, and there's a story from Lundell, Missouri. It's around St. Clair, Missouri, by the Little Indian Creek area. But this girl, she describes the same Sasquatch with the long white hair, real pretty white, and also a guy that I interviewed in the past from that same area described the same creature, and he talked about how they tried grabbing his dogs, and they actually took his dog Quigley, and they tried taking his new dog Quigley, and yeah, it was a pretty intense encounter. He had a lot of them too.
wow, the white one did. Tried took his dog quickly.
I think it was a white one. There was a white one around the property at the time, but there's a white one in that area that people have talked about. But yeah,
Wow.
that's in Missouri.
That white holy color could fool you. That could make you think it was a really good one because it's so holy looking. It was so pretty, but yeah, that's crazy. I'm glad you told me about that. Well, you had a lot of UFO sightings.
Yeah, I've seen some strange things. Some that could be Starlink or drones, but some for sure, without a doubt, unknown crafts from out of this world. Or if they're from this world, they're from the underworld, as people like to refer it to.
Yeah. You know what? I recorded a recording out here, a couple of them, and it was too long because I tried to send them to DA, but I couldn't get them to send because they were too long. and I haven't figured out yet how to fix it, how to shorten it. And I keep asking the kids, but they won't give me time to do it yet. To try to get it shortened so I can get it sent. But man, what I record in the sky here, that's why I told you I think they followed me and I want this thing up underneath my arm because I think somehow they found me.
Yeah,
You
some
know,
people have said that if you get abducted or the aliens visit you, that they can chip you, and with that chip, the Sasquatch are able to follow you around, and that's how they know where people are at.
oh my goodness. Wow. See, I just noted all these things started happening at the same time, you know. Um, or that I started becoming aware. I became aware of the UFOs first. I became aware of that first. I seen all the signs of the Sasquatch, but I hadn't had a eye to eye good look, you know. Thought I did, wasn't sure though,
Mm.
until I did, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
By the pond, you said it was like 140 feet away. I think that's like 46 yards.
46,
Yeah, around 50.
that's probably about right. Yeah, I didn't even get to the Wolfman down there. So I didn't even get there. That's another story. But I know you're tired and I am too. I'll email you or something about it. But my neighbor, they she don't think there's no wolves in there, but there is. And my neighbor didn't believe me, none of them did. Until my neighbor, he's dead now. He finally passed away from old age. But he finally came across them in his field. And he ran home to get the camera, take a picture of them. But he come by my house. He said, Sandy, Sandy, you were right. You were right. We do got wolves here. You was right. I said, I told you, Joe, you wouldn't listen. And there was a white one, just like mine. Uh, there is two. There is a white one. There's two gray and white ones. I see a white one. I see a white one. Two gray and white ones, and two that's got red and black on them. And if they don't like somebody that shows up around her, they will make an appearance. And another, I mean, an alpha and a male and a female raised pups right there on the other side of my pond, and nobody could see them until I enhanced the images with the camcorder and zoomed it in where they could see them running around. My wolf dog Dandy would fraternize with them, and then one day they'd come running up to the house, and Dandy wouldn't let them get to me on the front porch. They wasn't going to hurt me, but Dandy wouldn't let them get close to me even still yet, and but they raised a litter of them right there on the embankment of the pond, on the other side of it right there. Everything feels safe at that pond. See, I tried to keep it where nothing could be killed there. See, and I just and I try to keep it clean, but then people went in while I was going down there. They destroyed my property. You wouldn't believe what my place looks like right now. I got to get down there and clean it up because people went in and just destroyed it. Man, they destroyed everything I had, and it's awful. And my daughter's a big lot to blame with that, but it is what it is, and I know it's going to be a whole lot better than what I had. So things will turn out good. As long as she's doing good, I don't care. But anyways, these wolves I was telling you about, there's a feller. Um, you remember I told you, I didn't know if maybe it was spirits, and I was able to see it on film. It was actually there. At first, that's what I thought was going on with this man. Uh, and but it wasn't. There's this guy, and during the summer, he wouldn't hardly. All you'd do is see him in a few skins, and that would be about it. He wouldn't hardly have nothing else on. But he ran with these 5 wolves, and during that rattlesnake infestation, I got pictures of him out by my chicken pen with dead rattlesnakes laying all over the place, and those wolves each in their own little place, with him. And then one day I opened up the end of the trailer window and I smelled real hot blood. And of course, I knew it was a dead deer because I recognized the smell. And I looked down in the field, and there they was. There he stood. And those 5 wolves, the deer threw up on my old truck down there. And, a couple of wolves up on the cab of the truck. And I'm like, yep, there it is. And they're just looking at my way. And he got to where he'd come down to the pond. But he was kind of like a wild man or a feral or something. I don't know how right he is or whatever. He's never bothered me or anything like that. And one day, one of my friends was over there, and they started telling me about him. They said, man, he said, he said, I'd like to tell you something, but I don't know if you believe me or not. And I said, just tell me because I'd been telling about some things going on around there. He said, what's over at Gerster? He said, I followed this man one evening, one night, and he said, and this was a real good, smart dude in the military, knew how to do things like this, but he followed this man all the way back to a hole in the ground, to a cavern inside the ground. And he said, this man went into this cavern in the ground with a bunch of wolves. And I said, keep talking, keep talking. And he started to shut up because he didn't think I'd believe him. I said, no, I believe you. Please tell me the rest of the story. Please, I'm begging you. Because this man comes here. You got to tell me. So see, Gerster is just the way the crow flies, only a few miles from there. You know what I'm saying? So I knew it had to be the same man. But this man actually lives out there in the woods with these wolves, Miguel. He does. Can you believe that?
Yeah, that's wild.
It is. But I'm gonna show you pictures of all this stuff. I'll show you pictures of this stuff. I know it's a lot to listen to, it's a lot to hear. I know it is, but I've been there a long time. Just like you spent your whole life dealing with all this stuff, you know. I'm so glad that you understand and have, because I was so scared and I didn't feel like that you would judge me, you know. But I knew I need to tell somebody about all this for something happened to me, because I knew my kids wouldn't.
Yeah.
You know, I knew they'd never tell nobody, you know.
Well, I'm glad you told me, and it really means a lot to me. And I know it wasn't easy to do, and it was a blessing to hear somebody had the same experiences as myself, and not just one or two, but a multitude of encounters and experiences.
Yeah, that's a blessing for me too, Miguel, because man, you're the only person I felt like really gets it, you know. Sure, my family has seen it and been through it, but none of them has been there, you know, down there like me by myself most of the time and going through the majority of it by myself. So, uh, you know, people, they don't want to talk about it, you know, they just don't want to handle it because it scares them so bad. And they just get mad if I tell them something because it scares them, you know, if that makes any sense to you.
Yeah, it does. I think a lot of people get freaked out by what people tell them, and they refuse not to believe, but they're out
Yeah.
there.
That's it. That's what's happening with me. So it's not having somebody to talk to, you know, and so it means a lot that you call me, especially calling me so quickly. I couldn't believe you called me so quick. That was amazing. Maddie, when I told her you was gonna call, she was like, "What?" She really liked that. She was really glad about that.
Well,
Yeah,
I'm
she
glad to
couldn't
hear that.
believe you was gonna call.
Yeah, and
But
I truly mean that, that it was a blessing to be able to talk to you, and you're a really good person, and I hope that good things happen for you. I hope you get back out to your property, and
well, I sure thank you, Miguel. I sure do thank you. And if you ever want to talk about anything, just give me a holler. Or if something comes up, just you know, if something comes up, I'll send you an email or text or something. I won't bother you, but I'll send you a text or email, let you know if something happens or something, you know. Or if you just need somebody to talk to or whatever about something happened, just holler at me, you know.
yeah, yeah,
So
absolutely. And then if you ever wanted to get together and talk about these encounters, or go to some of these areas, just let me know, and we can definitely
okay,
plan for it in the future.
cool, that sounds good. And like I say, once them rattlesnakes get done, get them there, because they're bad. You can check that out down there for yourself and see that thing I'll tell you, the thing I made. It's incredible. I'm gonna take a picture of it when I go back down there in a few weeks or so I can send you a picture of that thing they built. It's been there for, I'm telling you, 15 years. That's how strong they made it. It's
Yeah.
amazing, really. But
Okay. Yeah.
but but yeah, thank you so much, Miguel, for talking to me. And I surely do appreciate it. I do. I do. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to me.
Yeah, same here, Sandra. And I'm going to let you go for now. And I really appreciate your time. And I'm glad that you spent the time to tell all your encounters, or at least the majority of them. So thank you.
Yeah, I got the best ones out there anyways. Anyways. But
Yeah.
you might now want to edit some of that stuff off there because I know I sound like a raving lunatic on there. But so just use your own judgment and edit it however you want to clean it up or whatever. Because I know I get carried away. I know I do.
Okay.
And then I'll send you an email later on down the road when I give them more time and continue about more things maybe. I got like 6 pages of things wrote down. That didn't even cover a lot of that stuff. Talking to you, I forgot to even look at my notes once I got to talking to you. But anyway, I keep talking to you, and I can just keep on talking to you. So I'm gonna get. I'm gonna
Okay.
get, or I ain't gonna shut up.
All right. Well, that sounds good. And you have a good night, and tell your family I said hi, and I hope they're doing well.
You too, Miguel, and you stay safe and stay well. Thank you so much. Good night.
All right. Till the next time. Take care.
You too. Bye bye.
Bye. All right, Sandra, thank you very much for sharing your encounters with me, and it certainly means a lot. It's not every day that I talk to somebody who's had a multitude of encounters like myself, so I really appreciate that. And telling my story inspired Sandra to come forward and talk about what she has experienced. If you have had a Bigfoot encounter and would like to talk about it one day here on the channel, please contact me at sasquatchtheory@outlook.com. And if you guys can, please like and subscribe, hit the bell notification to stay up to date with all of my future videos. And I appreciate everyone for tuning in tonight and listening to these encounter stories. But until the next one, guys, take care, be safe, and happy holidays.